Okay, so let's chat about this week's Coronation Street then. And I'm going to say, I don't know, it was a bit dull, a bit boring this week. Didn't hold my interest. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't even necessarily fillerish, was it? It was just the stories that it focused on this week didn't particularly float my boat. I was like bobbins, bog standard bobbins on the street talk shorts this week.
I thought it was just average.
Yeah, it was.
Spoiler alert.
It was, we're starting off with the Acid Ryan storyline, which I just don't get it. Like, some weeks it's really compelling, and other weeks it's just not getting me. I did enjoy the Wednesday part of it when he was having a go at Daisy when he finds out about her being Crystal, but it's lingering longer than it needs to, I think. I don't know how long they're going to keep dragging this story out. Then we had the Damon story, which this week I'm calling Adam Exercises His Damons, because he seems to have given him the old heave-ho from Weatherfield, didn't do it for me. And then I think another problem with Corrie this week for me was that there were lots of stories that were just in it a little bit. Yeah, so I've got the next story called Run Away, which is about Aaron going away. He's gone last week, and we saw the fallout from that with Amy getting drunk and all that this week. That was okay. We had a bit of Paulie Paul. Same old, really.
No, it's like I said on our shorts, battle between religion and crystals. Who will win? Who will save Paul from his fate?
He's unsalvageable. But we had the Sexy Bexy storyline, which, to be honest, every time that Beck and Max story came on screen, that was what kind of made me, perk my ears up and listen this week. I really like Beck. I think she's a great character, and I was a bit sad.
That's why she should run away.
Despite the fact that she was obviously going to find out and not be too pleased with the fact that Max was in prison for racist reasons.
He was terrorist.
I think that she's a really compelling and interesting and kind of bubbly, smiley sort of character.
There's not really anyone else like her.
No, there's really, really not. And she's got a very interesting fashion sense, hasn't she? She's got like numbers and
kids
things.
These days are like that, aren't they? They like to wear 90s things.
Yeah, she wasn't proper 90s. She was dressed like she was in Sister, wasn't she?
She was dressed like all the people that thought they were cool that went to my school.
So I actually quite enjoyed that, but didn't necessarily go the way I wanted to, but never mind. Then we'll talk about the Stephen storyline. There was a little bit more of the laying down. We had a tiny bit of Isabella Harridan. We had a little bit of Roy this week. We haven't got a storyline title for.
Roy and his dog.
Roy and his boy.
One Roy and his dog.
Yeah, I don't know. So I've got a feeling it's not going to be the longest of Street Talk sections.
Are you going to go first?
Do you want me to? Yeah, I can go first. I can talk about. Yeah, I'll go first. I'll talk about Ryan.
You should toss a coin, really.
It was interesting at the start of the week because Jay-Z and Jenny were having a conversation about.
When was Jay-Z in this?
Daisy, shut up. Daisy and Jenny were talking about socials and getting Rovers a social media account, which I think that this is an opportunity here. They need to get...
please.
They don't have that Norris Mole account anymore, do they, obviously? I think that, an official Rovers Twitter account or Instagram or something.
That.
Sally Matthews enjoys her socials, doesn't she?
They had Ed going, here's how to... What did he tell you to do? My daughter told me to come on here and teach you lot how to do some building stuff.
Did he?
Yeah, but I obviously didn't learn a damn thing off of it because I can't remember what it was he was doing. Something about light bulbs, was it? Or
I don't even
Windows?
remember. Anyway, so Jenny's getting her social chat from Daisy at the beginning, but that didn't go anywhere. It was just a little warm-up to the episode. And it was kind of linked to the fact that Daisy is taking a break from her social media at the moment after the little spot of catfishing that she's been doing.
Can I just say, if she, I'm surprised she doesn't have people queuing up round the block to demand all of their stuff back for this wedding.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I get it. Of course you wouldn't want to... But the fact that she's got absolutely no thought whatsoever to making it good with any of these people or explaining herself or like even doing a post, surely we're led to believe that she's got scores of followers, right?
Well, I think she's going to be hemorrhaging at them at the moment, though.
But you gain followers by building a relationship with the people that are interested in seeing pictures of you wearing pretty clothes. That's what we've kind of been led to believe, and she's built up such a big following that she can get a dress that's worth thousands of pounds for free.
Are you trying to get us more followers on Twitter by making me wear this Coronation Street Joni dress next week? Because I tell you, that's where I draw the line, Gemma.
It's gonna look so pretty. But listen, she's just dumped everything, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she's never going to be able to go back to it, and I'm really annoyed that they've dropped that completely. That would have actually been interesting and unique and something that they had never done before.
What?
In order to talking about somebody who's created, they call it parasocial relationship, don't they, with online between content creators and their followers. You know, does she owe them anything? Are they going to be mad? Are they all going to be clamouring for her to... You know, how upset would you be if you were following the build-up to a wedding of somebody that you really liked and admired enough to, you know, give a crap about it, and then you hear something awful happens and there's a court case and somebody's face got burned, but she never goes online and says anything about it? I think people would get really cross.
I don't know whether you'd be cross or whether you'd be just worried. I mean,
you'd be worried, but there'd be loads of people that would get angry, I'm telling you.
Well, she's blocking them all anyway. She's
but
not
you see
looking.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that not be much more of an interesting avenue for this storyline to have explored instead of two people kiss each other that shouldn't be kissing each other?
It's probably,
We've had that a million times.
It's easier to show, isn't it? Having, you know, the romantic side
but
of
if
things.
You're going to talk,
it's
if you're
difficult
trying,
to...
Yeah, I know it's easier. That doesn't mean it's better, does it?
No.
But listen, also they're always talking about trying to engage younger viewers, and I think they're doing as good a job as they can do, while not really alienating older ones too much. But this would be the perfect subject for young people to be interested in, because, you know, most of them have spent their whole lives with following content creators, especially YouTubers and things, and admiring and idolising them. And then you see somebody like this who's really made something of herself. And I'm not saying that she's wrong to do it. You know, make your own mind up about whether you think that she owes anybody anything. But not even exploring it is a bit frustrating for me.
Well, they're not exploring that. They're not particularly exploring much of the whole Daniel side of the relationship, are they?
Daniel
It seems to be all about Daisy and Ryan at the moment. Speaking of which, the subject of Ryan comes up here, and Daisy's being very evasive because Jenny, obviously at this point, has got no idea exactly what's been going on and that she's been Crystal and everything, and she's like, oh, isn't it sad, isn't it shocking that Crystal was actually Karen? And Daisy's like, oh yes, anyway, let's change the subject. So Carla comes into the pub later to get some food for Ryan. Daniel's there too, and he's getting a little bit concerned that Ryan's still hermitising himself in the flat, seemingly getting worse apparently, and Daniel's like, look, I'll go around and see him. That tell you what, the doormat outside Carla's flat is probably worn down to nothing at the moment, because it seems like, you know, 1 in 5 scenes in Coronation Street at the moment is just people arriving at the flat, isn't it?
To see if Ryan's alright.
Like, oh, knock on the door, it's Daisy come to visit Ryan. Knock on the door, here's Auntie Debbie, who's coming next? Oh, it's Ryan, oh, it's Jenny. Who hasn't had a scene of going to visit Ryan at Carla's flat at the moment?
If I hermitised myself, I think it would probably be a good 3 months before anybody noticed.
Well, your mum and dad would probably notice because they'd be wanting you to do the allotment.
They'd be like, come and water the tomatoes. I'd be like, I can't, my face.
Anyway, so Daniel's going to go around and he takes him up this egg balm or whatever. And Ryan immediately knows that Carla must have been telling people that he's not doing so well. And Daniel says, oh, look, no, don't worry about it. Can I come in for a cuppa, please? And we can have a bit of a chat. So he says, look, you shouldn't be isolating yourself here, which is proper word for hermitising. And Ryan says, I just don't need everyone's pity. Very much like Paul this week. I'm sure they could form some sort of support group with tragic soap characters. And he's just feeling really low about his face. His confidence is low as well. What are women gonna think? I'm never gonna get a date. And Daniel's like, just turn the other way. They'll be dropping their knickers before you know it.
They don't have time to do your proper makeup and just turn your face slightly away from the camera.
Daniel's like, look, don't worry. You're jumping the gun a little bit. Just see women as potential friends first.
Yeah, have you ever tried befriending women and talking to them as human beings?
Yes, not just jumping
rather than
in.
trying to jump down their throats.
I don't think that. I wouldn't say that Ryan is necessarily a sort of. I don't know what even the word is. man who cruises
Playboy,
the bars.
Lothario.
I don't see him like that anyway. I think
No,
he
but
is the sort of person that wants to form some sort of relationship first.
Yeah, no, but you're thinking of this from your perspective as somebody who's like in a committed relationship, and sadly, I've pledged before God and our friends and family that even if you had acid thrown in your face, I wouldn't be able to dump you like a sack of hot bricks.
Part of the vows.
But he's here and he's isolated and he's thinking about the future and the fact that he's going to be alone.
No, of course it makes sense.
Right, Daniel should be like, no, you're going to get a girlfriend who's like super not into looks and is not shallow like mine. So
yeah,
I mean, look at her. She's such a flighty bird. She's been off doing all God knows what.
She's like, you know what Alia's like. She'll be here before you know it. Don't worry.
Alia would love to date you just so that she could go to support groups.
Daniel says, look, I hear that you're not doing so well anyway. You've not been around to see Daisy recently. What's going on? It becomes a little bit awkward because it soon becomes apparent that they both maybe know something slightly different about the crystal situation. Like Ryan thinking I can't remember
Karen.
who. Ryan thinking it's Karen, Daniel knowing it's Daisy, and it's like, oh. And Ryan says, look, realising that Crystal was a fake really hit me hard, and seeing Daisy afterwards made it worse. And Daniel says, look, you really should go and see her. She's been a bit withdrawn herself recently, maybe, seeing her might help her, it might help you. I think you should go for it. Just don't snog her. He should have said that.
Should have said don't kiss her or touch anything.
So Daniel then goes to the pub and tells Daisy that Ryan wants to go and see her, so she heads over there. Hello, it's me again. Come for another visit.
Just get...
He can't leave the flat because
He's
he
got a
doesn't want
hoodie.
people to look at his horrible face.
It's not horrible.
He thinks it's horrible. She heads over and they had that kiss last week or whenever it was.
So it's awkward.
A little bit awkward. And after a little bit of doorstep dilly dallying, he says, "Come in for a lager." And she's
what
like,
a way to punish her.
Don't. I did quite enjoy that scene of her there with her can and taking a swig.
No,
and
I'm not drinking that
grim.
rubbish. Give me something else.
So they end up watching the telly, watching quiz shows and stuff.
I bet you, oh no, I was going to say,
What?
I bet you Peter's got some really nice rum, but I don't think he does anymore.
No, probably not. Probably not. So Ryan starts getting all emotional about missing Crystal, or who he thought was Crystal. Just so hard, or tragic, woe is me. Then the subject of the kiss comes up again, and Ryan's like, oh, it was just a pity kiss. And Daisy says, no, I wanted to kiss you. And Ryan says, oh, really? Well, I still do. And then they flip and go and do it. And I was like, oh man. This year's Coronation Street is all about these flighty women and dirty doggy men just can't keep it in their trousers, can they?
Well,
or
it's because
dresses.
Coronation Street knows what categories we've got for our awards, and they want to make sure that we've got enough nominees.
I'm disappointed with Daisy. I am.
I don't get what is she doing here? This is why we need a confidant for her. We need her to explain what are you doing this for? Is it pity? Do you like him? Why didn't you realise this? I mean, I know that they've got history though, don't they?
I'd be interested to see what a girlfriend for Daisy would be like.
Yeah.
Because she's clearly mates with Ryan, with benefits a little bit. But if she had a female friend, I think that Daisy would be a really difficult person to be a friend with, because I can imagine her kind of looking down on you and saying, well, I'm the prettiest one, and being a little bit shallow.
A bit of a mean girl.
Yeah, I think she could. And it is a real shame, because I'm rapidly going off Daisy, I have to say. Not particularly enjoying the storyline at the moment, finding it a bit boring doesn't help, but I'm just not into her going after... I'll go after Daniel when she's got the lovely... going after Ryan when she's got the lovely Daniel back at the pub.
It's difficult because also you're not seeing anything of Daniel, so there's no sort of reason for her... because that was the motivation for Sarah to go off with Damon, is that Adam was just ignoring her. And I guess maybe they thought that they couldn't do the same thing again with Daisy because... that would just be too repetitive.
Couldn't have Daniel working too hard. He's a teacher. He only works 9 till 3, doesn't he? 50-minute lunch break every day.
Guess where's the violin?
I really obviously want to like Daisy, and I liked liking Daisy when I did,
I
but
like
this kind of behaviour really makes it a bit more difficult for me. Anyway, Carla comes up to the flat, and so they pull away quickly, and Daisy tries to make a hasty exit, but Carla insists she stay, gets out the crisps and wine, and starts wittering on, blissfully unaware of the situation she almost walked into just then. Daisy tries to escape again, and Ryan's like, "Hey Daisy, I'd quite like to hang out with you again. I enjoyed today." So he's, feeling a bit perkier now. So that visit worked. Carla takes Ryan out of the flat, but he's not really interested, unsurprisingly, in a trip to the Rovers, and he's there with his hood up, isn't he? He's like, doing his hide in my face.
I don't get
thing.
what she's. Yeah, because Bernie comes over.
Yeah. But
I don't get what she said that was so wrong. She says you look well.
I can't remember what she said. She made
But she did.
Whatever it was she said, I remember thinking that's not that's not an unusual comment or
Carla's
that
glaring at her.
Yeah, because
and Carla's not ever helping.
It's because she dared to even mention, like,
that
acknowledge the fact that something had happened to him. I think it was basically that, and Carla just wants Ryan to be treated normally.
But
not gonna happen.
I always find this difficult. I've probably spoken about this before on the podcast about all these things that make people feel awkward about talking to somebody in a difficult situation. And I just don't think it's helpful because people are already awkward. And actually, the real response that he would probably get, sadly, is that people would ignore him and not want to talk to him.
Well, they had that, didn't they, a few weeks ago when Sarah Louise came into the pub and she just didn't know where to look and not mentioning it for him was just as bad. Well, actually, it was for Daisy, I think, at the time.
It's partly because you're scared of what happens with every time Carla's in a scene with him, of somebody judging you or being horrible to you because you say the wrong thing. I'm sorry, I don't know. I haven't experienced somebody who's had an acid attack before. I'm not particularly up on what I'm supposed to say or not, but just pretending it didn't happen at all doesn't seem right. But then, I say that, but then you also hear of people who are actually tactless and awful and do need to have a bit of a slap around
Some
the face.
people are, but the best reaction that Ryan's had was when he went into the pub and Debbie was there and just was like giving him a big hug and also making fun of it a little bit. I can't remember, she said something like, is it too soon to make jokes about it or whatever.
It's difficult because each person's obviously different too.
Yeah. It depends on the relationship you got with that person and what you can get away with saying.
It's hard, but having someone like Carla glaring at you, I guess it's realistic though, because Carla's very protective of him. But if she's going to start making people feel awkward, and it's not going to help in the long run.
Would Bernie, if the shoe was on the other foot and somebody was saying something to Paul like, "Oh, you're looking well at the moment. How's your foot doing?"
I can imagine her going, "Well."
But I don't know, because Bernie seems to...
Depends on what mood she's in.
Yeah, she doesn't want pity for Paul, but she does want there to be help and acknowledgement that he does have a condition there, and shaking her bucket at them and everything.
It's not very easy for most people, but I'm gonna say in almost every situation, the person would rather you spoke to them than ignore them. Yeah, I would say so. So anyway, they go off to Speeddale, don't they? And Alia's fussing over him a little bit. Daisy's been telling her about how he's been getting on and everything. Daisy goes back to the Rovers and said it went fine with Ryan. She said all the right things. And then she starts looking for flats because after kissing rounds 2, she really just needs to get away from Weatherfield. She's worried that there's going to be a temptation for round 3 again of all this snoggery, and so she says, "Well, let's get a flat. Let's get far away from here. Just to make a fresh start." And I'm confused about why they didn't do this before.
What?
Because was it because they were getting married that they didn't move out, or?
Okay.
Why don't these two adults with normal jobs have their own place to live?
Poor.
There was a reason. They both moved out at the same time, didn't they? And then they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But they could have organised that. Honestly, the priorities here are completely out of whack. Why would you have an Instagram wedding that then you didn't even follow up on? Rather than she could be the next Mrs. Hinch. She could go and decorate her little flat up with all the nice furniture and cutesy house plants and get all them for free. Think about it, Daisy.
Later still.
Think about it, Daisy.
Alia walks Ryan home and is like, look, sorry about all this crystal palaver that's been going on. And then they bump into Max. And there was a little bit of a twist to the tale on the end of Monday's episode, wasn't it? Because Max is obviously out of prison now, but while he was in prison, or whatever it is they call it, I know they don't call it prison, he got...
I call it school.
He got he had Daisy's crystal phone, didn't he? That was the one that Daniel gave to him, and he heard the message from Ryan leaving a message for Crystal, and since he's come out, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Most people have forgotten this. This was actually a really good twist, and well done, Corey, for blindsiding us with this, even though it was kind of obvious, wasn't it?
It really was. And they bump into Max, and because Alia's there, she's like, "Oh, Max, you big racist! I'm getting out of here," leaving Ryan alone with him. And Max says, "Well, what's wrong with her? I'm not all bad. I'm the one that told Daniel about your message when you're in a bad state the other week." And Ryan's like, "What? You heard that?" And so it suddenly dawns on him that the message that he left on Crystal's phone was actually Daisy's phone. So he has put two and two together. He knows that the catfisher was not Karen, but Daisy instead.
Oh no.
So, Wednesday, he's not been able to sleep. He's been tossing and turning all night with this new information. And Carla says, well, let's go out later, but he's not really in the mood after this shocking revelation.
I assume he's told Carla too.
Yes.
So they both know.
She knows
she's trying
now.
to cheer him up, but he doesn't want to.
And Daisy, meanwhile, has got this big old jar of sweets for Ryan. Jenny's excited about this flat thing that she's going to be telling Daniel about later, and then she gets a text from Ryan saying, look, I can't stop thinking about yesterday, I really need a chat. So she thinks that he's talking about the kiss and he wants, I don't know, does he want a bit more snogging, or does he want to say, how are we going to make sure that Daniel definitely doesn't find out about this?
Or maybe he's going to say, like, are you going to leave Daniel for me?
Yeah, exactly.
Could be anything.
But actually what he wants to do is give her the mother of all telling-offs for her naughtiness. So she goes over and she's like, look, Ryan, it was a mistake. I'm with Daniel. We do have a connection, yes, but honestly, I just got carried away and I don't want to jeopardise our friendship and everything. And Ryan's like, let me stop you. I know that you are Crystal. I know. Daisy tries to defend herself, but Ryan is absolutely fuming. And despite this week of Corrie not being anything near a vintage week for me, this was probably my highlight. Ryan having a massive go at her, giving her an absolute slaughtering, not letting her not pausing for breath, just saying how awful she is at tricking him and catfishing.
But I only did it because I cared about you, Ryan.
And I was watching it and thinking, I do kind of like Daisy, and also when she was doing it, I was defending her when other people weren't and saying she's only trying to help. Lots of people were saying how despicable behaviour this is, Daisy. But I honestly, at the time, thought, no, she just wants to let him down gently. She's got herself into an awful muddle here. But when he was having a go at her, I was thinking, I don't blame him for this. Does she deserve it? I don't know. But he definitely, I don't blame him whatsoever for letting loose on him. Did you?
On her, yeah.
On her, sorry.
No, I agree. She's messed up here, but... it's one of these things that feels quite understandable.
Yeah, totally.
Like, she was only trying to help, but she was being selfish because she was helping him in a way that she knew was not actually gonna be good for him in the long run. Well, did she? I don't know. I think she's in denial. He's
just like full on sarcastic, and he's finally got the. He's able to. I can't remember the phrase that I'm trying to find, but he's there saying, you're the one that was always lording it over me. You're the one that's no, that's not right. I don't know what I'm trying to say either. He's like saying, finally.
Is he not saying something like, you think you're such hot stuff, but...
Yeah, actually. He calls her a shell, doesn't he? He says you're just empty. I can't remember where. I think there's a couple of these scenes that go on in the episode, and he's like, after all this, you think you're all that exactly, but you're actually nothing, and I'm the one that's.
I'm cool.
Yeah, I'm the cool dude. I'm a DJ,
I've got beauty within, not without like you.
So he slings her out eventually, and Jenny comes round with a sweet delivery, gets the door slammed in her face too, and she's proper confused because she's got no idea about any of this. No, so she goes and finds Daisy in Victoria Gardens and tells her that what's going on with Ryan. He was asking me if I'm in on it too. He needs help. And she heads back to the pub, and Daisy calls him and leaves him a message saying, I'm coming over again. So yeah, this is the second scene of it, and he's just massively sarky to her, says, yeah, you may be stunning, but all your ugliness is on the inside. And she says, no, look, I promise you, my feelings for you are real. My friendship for you is real. I was just trying to do the best thing. And he says, no, you made me feel like a massive mug. You know what? I used to envy Daniel, but now I feel sorry for him marrying a shell like you. He just it was really, really well written. I love this stuff. And then he heads out, and he's like, he's obviously got a mind to tell Daniel about these snogs that he's had just to ruin her day even more. So Daniel is over in the pub looking for Daisy. Right on cue, Ryan swaggers in. He's all drunk. He's followed by Daisy. He's desperate for him not to reveal what's just been going on between them. But then Ryan learns that Daniel knew about it too. And Daniel's like... It was misguided. It came from a good place though, and Ryan is just on the cusp of revealing about this snogging session that they'd had, but he holds back because I think Daniel mentions something about Bertie maybe, and Ryan's like, oh god, I don't want to break up something, so he doesn't say about that, but he does tell Jenny, because she seems to be the only one who doesn't know about at this point about the catfishing.
So why is he alright to kiss somebody, but telling the partner that he kissed them is a step too far and will break up the relationship?
I don't know.
Ryan.
He's like, he just leaves after saying, if I were you, mate, to Daniel, I'd keep an eye on her. So
he's like, I am.
Jenny
Believe me,
takes Daisy to the back and gives her the second ear bashing of the day before clopping off back into the bar, and she's left feeling suitably humbled by the whole ordeal.
Oh dear.
And Daniel comes in and Daisy says, oh god, really messed up. And Daniel's like, everything's out in the open now. There's hashtag no more secrets, is there, Daisy? Everybody knows everything there is to know about that. She's like, So she goes up to the flat again, gets both barrels from Carla this time. She's just a glutton for punishment, isn't she?
Walking around going, has anyone got anything they want to have a go at me about?
Anyone got any mud to sling at me? She says, Ryan says, look, you can come in, you got 2 minutes. She wants to know why he didn't tell Daniel about the kiss, and he says, oh yeah, it's because of the whole Bertie thing that Daniel was talking about. Couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm not going to tell him. Going to be our secret. And Daisy says, well, I'm not going to tell him either, so there's no way he will ever find out about this, and it's going to be a secret that's going to last forever in Coronation Street history, or maybe it will come out. How long do you give it until this comes out?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, not surprisingly, would it? So he's just like, whatever, you do you, Daisy. And Daisy's like, did you not tell him because you actually do still have feelings for me? And he's like, I can't believe you. After all of this, you deluded cow. How dare you say that? And you're the one that's hung up on me, not the other way around.
She's got high self-esteem.
Well, nothing wrong with that, is there?
Exactly.
She says, look, I care about you, but not like that. And he says, you are just massively in denial, mate. Sorry, love, though. I'm not interested. And again, I just loved
that
this.
Was good.
I loved Ryan being able to...
I bet he felt really powerful in that moment of like thinking that the rest of his life is him going to be rejected by women.
Yeah.
And then he gets to just shoot down the hottest girl he knows.
Exactly. So she goes home to Daniel, finally revealing that she wants the pair of them to move out, and she's already started looking, and we should have a family. Let's move away from Weatherfield.
I've never even considered any of this as an option.
He's like, you know what, that doesn't sound like half bad a suggestion nowadays.
He says, if only my house that I had rented out to refugees was available, but I am too morally upstanding to use it to house my family including my child.
So Friday's episode, Daisy kind of sheepishly returns to the Rovers and to see Jenny. She's forgiven her though after being an idiot with the whole crystal thing, and says, right, I really think you need to properly make it up with Daniel and just get away and be a proper family together. Then we had a little bit of Debbie come around to see Ryan. She's just heard about the whole crystal mess, and well, wouldn't that Daisy a cow? And Ryan says, look, I know that, you know, even though I did give a big old talking to yesterday, I know that deep down she didn't mean to hurt me. I don't want there to be any bad feelings between us. And Debbie says, well, in that case, get over the road, talk to her. You need closure. Later on, Daisy's a lot more chipper, and Jenny pours them some bubbly.
Well, yeah, Jenny's trying to move her on, isn't she? And
yeah, they toast New Horizons or something just in time for Ryan to come in and act all offended that she dares have a glass of bubbly when she should. I don't know, what should she have been doing? What would have been a suitable state for Ryan to have found Daisy
crying on a chair? No, I mean it was a bit unfortunate. It's not necessarily bad taste for them to have been doing it, but maybe
you're just used to that sort of thing happening on Coronation Street now, aren't you? People
anytime
always
you're
come
be
in
doing something
just at the wrong moment. So anyway, he's all offended that Daisy is not racked with guilt. So he goes to see Debbie in the bistro later, and he swears that he's not in love with Daisy, but Debbie isn't convinced by this. So it feels like there's still some unfinished business between them.
There's so much complicated emotion in this funny little relationship that they've got together, because he's obviously jealous of her and Daniel, but he's also jealous that she's got away with no real long-term consequences and he's stuck there. And he thought she was his way out because he's concerned about the future and he saw a future with her, and then he's just jealous and annoyed that she's moving on with Daniel, and he's going to be stuck there in Weatherfield kipping on his aunt's sofa for the rest of his life. He feels like
being rejected by his mum.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think that he would actually go with her after all this?
Yeah, because he's dumb and he's...
Because the snog this week was before the catfishing reveal.
He's dumb, and honestly, can I just say this too? If Daisy did not look like Daisy, none of these men would give her to... She's so much... She's so messy, this girl. She's so complicated and, like, really self-absorbed and so much trouble. If she did not look like the most beautiful woman in Weatherfield, then they wouldn't give her 5 minutes.
So if you were Daisy right now, would you take a risk and confess to Daniel
I think
that you maybe had a little snog with Ryan?
You'd have to, but you know it's going to come out on Moving Day or something, and it's just another, you know...
Just another soap secret, isn't it? It doesn't particularly excite me because it does feel like it's a very much well-trodden ground here.
But then again, you know, we've just had Sarah and Adam and this relationship, this affair, and it obviously went a lot further than Daisy and Ryan
Yeah, just
did.
a little kiss on the sofa.
But are we going to have another man being told his girlfriend or wife was... you know, cheating on him and going, I don't really mind. I'll just get over it, I guess. Like, really, if he forgives Daisy as well as Adam having forgiven Sarah, even though obviously there's a lot more to that story than that.
It just give every Witherfield woman carte blanche to drop her drawers for anyone.
You get one shag or kiss.
The thing is, Daisy could think it was just a kiss, though. It might be worth the risk. Yes, he might utterly reject her, but equally, he might think, I'm not gonna get any better. It was just a kiss. It's so difficult for us because we watch it through the eyes of a soap viewer, don't we? And maybe if this was real life, you'd think maybe it won't come out. But no. I can't look past the fact that clearly. Before long, Daniel's going to know about this secret, and it probably is better if it comes from Daisy's lips. It's just like the whole Max and Beck thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If Max had told Beck why he was in prison, she probably wouldn't be reacting the same way that she is at the moment. So if I could give Daisy any advice, it'd be just to tear off that plaster and let him know about it.
Really should.
Hope for the best.
And I mean, maybe this is what's going to happen though, because I really cannot see Daisy and Daniel moving to Didsbury.
Oh no, of course not. They're not going to move away.
Maybe that's what's going to happen, is that it's going to come out about the kiss, and then Daisy's going to have to stay at the pub. And then
I do hope that it's not the end of Daisy and Daniel, though. I think that they're honest, genuinely a good couple. I'd rather they were together than her and Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Although her and Ryan ending up together is almost kind of soap opera twee, isn't it?
I can't see them being happy together, though.
No, they don't seem intellectually suited. Not that, not that Daisy is some kind of
I don't think either of them are great deep thinkers.
I think during the courtship of Daniel and Daisy, we did get to see that she got a brain in that head, hasn't she?
I think they learned about each other, Daisy and Daniel, through their relationship.
Yeah.
With Ryan, I mean, honestly, Daisy, the best woman in the world, is a bit of a gold digger. She is latching on to Daniel because he's got good prospects.
Oh, Ryan ain't got any gold to dig, has he?
Ryan, she was into him when she thought he was a DJ that was gonna, travel the world and earn lots of money. But now I can't see her thinking he's got much of a chance.
No, the only gold he's got is the ABBA Gold CD in his record collection.
I mean, it's...
Sorry, that wasn't that great.
It's,
regret.
I think it's a bit sexist to say she's a gold digger, but there's certainly nothing wrong with having expectations for your partner economically. Like, are you both aligned? Do you both want the same things from different aspects of your life? And money is one of them. And Ryan strikes me as the sort of person who'd be perfectly content to just spend the rest of his life on Carla's sofa.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Daisy wants that. I think that, not that being a teacher's going to earn them very much, but in the way of income, but Daisy wants someone who's a bit more put together. And
Ryan was saying a few months ago, before the acid attack, that he wanted to make more of his life, though, didn't he? And he's just been kind of bumming around, and
Michael,
maybe he needs to go down the more traditional route.
Maybe, yeah, he was saying that, but how many times have I said that? Like, how many lazy ass lays about, like me and Ryan, sit around going, I'm going to change, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do this and that. And then next week it's like, yeah, I am going to, I'll promise. I don't think that this is going to change. I mean, if he was a real person, I'd have absolutely no expectations that this is going to change him at all. But because it's a soap, maybe it will turn his life around.
Yeah. I just feel really sorry for Daniel in all this. And because, like you said, because he's been so absent for a lot of the story, I don't know whether the audience is really feeling anything for him at the moment.
No, I know.
And it would also feel very twee if the disfigured DJ gets the beautiful girl, and it's a bit of an Ashley and Maxine situation, isn't it? Like,
it's a bit rude, Ashley.
Although he
Ashley wasn't disfigured. He just
had a funny voice. Sorry. And actually, if you look at him from the right direction, Ryan is definitely a bit of a hunk as well. Also, I've heard tell. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just ready for this story to end.
I don't know where it's going.
I'm kind of thinking ahead and looking at the end of the year and what's going to be, the big story of the year. I'm thinking, what are we going to say? That was the big story of 2023. And last year, around this time, we were thinking, has there been a big story this year? Is it this Imran, Toya and Abby thing? And it did turn out that for us, that was the big story of the year. This one, I think we've got a few more contenders as possibly big stories of the year, but if you look at all the award nominations, this is it. But, the trajectory that it's going at the moment, by the time we get to the end of the year, I think I'm going to be sick of this. I'm sad to... I don't know what it needs to...
It needs to not be an affair storyline, but I'm afraid that ship sailed.
Yeah, it is. It's another one, isn't it? Anyway, but maybe we're wrong. Do let us know, listeners. Are you feeling...
Some people will be liking it.
I think they probably are. I think that I don't know what the Daisy fan base are thinking about her and
They
Ryan.
don't like her, I don't think.
Are they not?
They don't. I think they're just upset at Daisy's moral depravity.
Yeah, well, that's the same as me, isn't it? But then I get told that if everybody is morally upstanding and doing the right thing, then it's a boring program, which is very, very true.
You've got to let people make mistakes. It's how they solve them and overcome the obstacles that they create for themselves.
I want Jenny to be more of a main character in it. She's just she's going to be up there in the top 10 again this year, Jenny, I think, for a number of appearances, but it still feels like she's just not quite had enough to get her teeth into.
No, she's doing. I think
she's got the Stevens story.
Definitely enjoying watching her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shall we do the next?
She made a few good expressions this week, didn't she, Jenny?
Yeah,
I don't
really
think it was this story. I think it was the
funny.
Elaine one. But
yeah.
So Adam and Sarah Louise storyline then, Gemma. Go.
From one affair to another.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Adam exorcises his daemons. On Monday, Daemons. On Monday, Sarah, Adam, and Harry are back at speed dial, and Damon comes in and sits and kind of glares at them every now and then, getting all jealous about them and their family. And they go back home, and Sarah's complimenting Adam on the fact that he handled Damon being there very well. And then she's like, "Come into the bedroom," and he's like, "No, I don't want to."
No bonking yet, lady.
I don't want to shaggy, you filthy tramp.
You still smell of Damon.
Ugh. On Wednesday, Leanne is not a fan of Damon's new idea, which is he wants to set up a trendy pop-up restaurant, which used to be just a burger van, but now is like street food or whatever.
Speaking of restaurants, I like the mention of the place off St Anne's Square in tonight's episode, and I wonder whether that was a subtle reference to Jenny McAlpine's place.
Annie's, yes, that is where it is located as well. So Nick's like, "We can't afford to do this," and Damon says, "Look, I could fund it because I know some people that might be interested in investing." The last time anybody on the show had a pop-up restaurant or a van, they ended up catching their wife shagging.
Oh yeah,
another bird in the back.
And the time before that, someone had a van. They were driving it into a lake.
Yeah,
Molly and
Tyrone.
Tyrone.
On fire, and then it got covered in water.
I don't. This story just can't win for me. Late night licensing, boring. Pop-up restaurant, pop-up bistro. I can't get excited about it. Any one of Damon's brilliant entrepreneurial ideas just leaves me absolutely cold. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of this was about this week, wasn't it? It's like, are we going to get a pop-up? It's just, are we going to get late night licensing in another package? I'm afraid.
It was a bit boring because it's businessy. I would be more interested if they were talking about actual food.
That's where your interests lie.
I would find that really interesting. But it also feels a bit like Damon keeps going to Leanne and Nick. You know this business that we got? Why don't we try to make some money out of it?
How about we make more money?
And they're like, "No, I don't know. It sounds like too much hard work. I don't really know if I want to. If I'm into, I can't be." And he's like, "God damn it, you two pair of idiots."
I know, they'd be fired off The Apprentice in the first week, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So, I mean...
Although, I tell you what, I'd like to see Alan Sugar try and fire Leanne. She'd fight back.
She'd fire him. So, Adam is like walking down the road later with Sarah, and he sees Damon, and he makes a big show of like giving her a big old kiss. It was kind of gross actually, because he's like holding on into her head and like, you know, really possessively. It felt really creepy and like, I own this woman and you got no claim on her to me. So Damon sees this and he... Well,
Sarah's like, did you just do that because he was there?
It's gross. I would hate that. She brought it herself. So
yes, I'm good again. No sympathy for this lady.
So Damon goes to the office, the lawyer's office, to get some paperwork, and Adam's like, "You're not welcome in here." Blah blah blah. Again, so unprofessional that he's Dee client, and Adam, you know what I mean? It's like, why are we doing this? You're silly people. Because it's dramatic, Gemma. Of course, that's why. What's wrong with you? Anyway, Adam goes into the office at the bistro to have a moan at Nick, and saying that Damon's pushing all his buttons and they need to get rid of him. I'm fed up with him. I can't live near him or work near him. I want him to leave. But Leanne's like, we can't let this damage our amazing business. We need to I want to get rid of him. But I don't know what he'd do if we tried something and
she's just saying that, you know,
you don't mess with this guy.
He is part of our business. We're not letting some affairs get in the way of us earning what we need for the bistro.
To be fair, I would feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry that your sister's a slapper, but I don't want to lose out on all my lovely money.
That's a bit pot calling the kettle black there, Leanne, to be fair. We know your past.
No, this is too much. We can't be saying this. We're going to get reviews now. We haven't had a review for all year. I don't think so. Maybe that's good news. Nick runs over to catch Adam as he comes out of work, and he's saying, look, I can't do anything about Damon. Adam realises that Damon's done something to make him more valuable to Nick and Leanne, so he gets it out of Nick that it's the pop-up restaurant idea. It's like, Adam might be like, simpletons, could you not come up with this idea yourself? Why can't you steal his idea and get rid of it?
How long have Nick and Leanne been in the bistro trade? You know, they've been in hospitality for
years,
years
and years,
decade at least, I'm gonna say.
No, Leanne used to have philandros, didn't she?
Yeah, that was even before then.
Right, so he's like, sorry, the business comes first. Adam's like miffed off. Later on, Dee Dee tells Adam that Damon might end up surprising him because nobody's irredeemable, and when he first came in, he was dodgy, and there was all that stuff about him stepping in and taking a beating for Paul when he realised, and that relationship between Paul and Damon's gone kaput, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But I guess they were there for each other when they needed it.
Yeah. Fair weather friends.
No, they weren't. They were there when it was tough for each other.
Oh, yeah.
Not really, but Adam seems...
Fair weather as in it made an interesting couple of scenes.
Yes. Adam's like, so what you're telling me is that Damon has got some people that want to beat him up, which sounds good and interesting. Thank you for that information. So on Friday, again, Sarah is like, Adam, we spend time together again. Have you not learned that he doesn't care about you and he only cares about his work? You need to... that's a hard lesson that you need to. Anyway, wasn't she worried about her business? I think Uncle Stephen should be whipping, doing manning the whips more, getting her back at work instead of fannying about at home, seducing the husband.
Yeah, literally fannying about.
He's not very excited, but he says, "Oh yeah, we'll do something later," and he goes to work. And Dee Dee comes in to work, and she sees Adam's going through her papers, and he's trying to ask her who it is that beat Damon up, and she's saying, I'm not telling you, I'm protecting you, you can't go around doing this, you got to drop this for your own sake, this is bad, professionally and like personally, just forget it. Later on, Leanne and Nick are going to look after Harry so Sarah and Adam can go out, and in the end they don't even go out, they just have a takeaway. I would be so mad at him. If I dress up and you come and we're supposed to be going out for a restaurant, and you come home, you're like, let's just have a takeaway. I would go out. I would
like to see you dress up like Sarah did. If I came home,
I'd look like a sausage about to burst out of its skin.
Sarah Louise looked very nice.
She did. She always looked
when
very
Adam
nice.
came home.
So Sarah admits to them that they're going through a rough patch. Oh really? And Leanne says, "Look, Adam loves you," and Damon turns up. What?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, Sarah turns to leave. Damon arrives.
And they sort of are a bit awkward around each other. And then Damon says to Nick and Leanne, "I've already found some places we can have this shop." I'll tell you what. You say what you like about him, but he actually has an idea, and he actually does it.
Yeah.
Most of them on this programme, when they have a business idea, they fart about with like doing a presentation to somebody, and then they have an investor who comes and insults the staff or doesn't like them because they didn't make their tea properly, and then they have to little cry because their business plans aren't good. He just goes and goes, yeah, do you know what I did? I asked someone who's not on the show, because if you ask someone on the show, you have to have a scene about it, and it takes like a whole episode. If you just go and ask somebody outside,
off screen,
it's much smoother.
Yeah, he needs to get involved with Chesney, with his Ches Burgers, because that's an idea that's months old and hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah. So Adam sees Paul in the street and says, "Look, I'm working on some case that might know about this insurance scam thing, and who was involved in that?" And Paul tells him it was Niall, and he works blah blah blah. And Adam's like, "Thanks very much." I'll use this information.
Yeah, he says that he works in this old tyre place, which is part of the front for his dodginess. But we don't actually go there. He just ends up in a pub.
Exactly, that's why I wasn't going to mention it to try to save time.
Sorry.
Damon and Adam bump into each other in the street, and Dame's like gloating, going, "Oh, I've got a pop-up restaurant." And Adam's like, "Don't be so cocky, you know, the restaurant trade's notoriously difficult to make money out of, and you never know what's coming around the corner." Then we have a location shoot, which Michael loved, obviously.
Yes,
Adam
very nice.
meets Niall
yes.
in another pub. I didn't know that there was another pub, but there is. And Adam's like, it was really funny because they were both kind of talking in code to each other, and this Niall was like, "I'm not interested, I don't care." But Adam basically lies and tells Niall that Damon, I just don't like the way it's written, Damon is going to tell the police about this insurance scam so that he can get a lesser sentence on another charge. And Niall's like, that would never happen. He wouldn't dare do that. He knows that it would be a bad idea. Why are you telling me that? Anyway, what's it to you? And Adam says, "I was just trying to get him in trouble because I don't like him." And Niall's like, "I can respect that. That sounds normal to me."
Come on, we can make this through. We can do it.
Dee Dee asks Alia if Adam was asking her about... That doesn't really go anywhere, does it?
No.
She says no. Adam finds Damon in the street and says, "I've just told Niall that you are going to dob him into the police." And then it's like, advert break. It's like, we knew that this was... Why is that? And no. So, after the break, Damon's terrified. He's like... Adam says, "Oh, you better run away, hadn't you?" And he's panicking. Like, he looks absolutely like he's about to die, which is possible. Runs into the bistro.
I wonder how much he'd been wondering that this kind of thing could actually happen.
No, because he squared everything away. He was going down the straight and narrow. He said this before, and now it's all come back to haunt him because Adam's meddling and lying.
Right. Okay.
He's obviously not going to have done this.
No, I know.
So Adam's just lying.
Yeah.
So Damon's panicking. He comes to the bistro, starts packing the bag, looks at the safe, and we assume that he's stolen money out of it.
Yeah, we didn't see him putting any money in the bag, do we? But he did have a bit of a bulky bag as he left.
They should rename the safe in the bistro to like plot device dispenser or something, because that's what it is, isn't it? They never really use it apart from to store plot developments.
Yeah, they only need to show the safe if somebody's going to be pinching something out of it.
So he runs off. He's like, "Bye, see you, smiley," to Leanne. And then he gets in his car. He's by the court, but I don't think we're supposed to realise it's the court, but it's the same exterior that they used to film court
not
scenes.
The one that they do court scenes in now, is it?
He's trying to call Sarah, who at this point has got her sexy outfit on, and he leaves a voicemail telling her that Adam's dodgy and he's set him up and he's got to leave for a little bit. And Sarah's busy and Adam deletes the message, and he's full of triumph about the fact that he's got one over on Damon, so he like, "Let's stay in and shag and have a takeaway."
Yeah, as far as Adam's concerned, at the end of the episode, he's won. Damon's left, and I was watching that, and it felt like a proper exit, didn't it?
It really did, because and the direction made it seem like he was going to drive into someone or blow up or something.
Yeah,
it was very dramatic.
Both of us turned to each other when he was driving off, and it was a bit of a shaky cam because
it was slightly too long as well. It just felt like, why are we watching him drive so far down the road if he's not going to blow up?
Well, the thing is, normally if they're going to blow something up, it probably makes more sense to do it on the lot, where it's a little bit safer.
Of course.
It felt like, what was the point of having that as a location shoot when he might as well have been parked up against Seb's murder wall? Maybe. But I was really appreciative of the fact that they did go out into Manchester to do it. It was great. It just made me think, oh, this is a special scene, and then I expected something a bit more special than just him driving off to happen. Yeah,
but more frequent
trips into Manchester.
Scenes.
Yeah. So
So the saddest part about this whole story is that there will be no pop-up restaurant.
Well, I don't know. He's sown the seeds now, hasn't he?
But he never told them who his investors were.
That's how you make a pop-up restaurant. You just sow some seeds and water it for a bit, and it goes pop. Didn't he? I thought he did. I thought you showed them pictures of it, I don't know. I don't care at all about this. So I was definitely caught off guard a little bit by Damon's exit. I haven't seen anything online about what's his name who plays him, Kieran Thingamabob, saying, well, that's me done in Coronation Street, it was a lovely time. So I am very much assuming that he hasn't left.
He's going to come back because Sarah's going to find out that she's up the duff with her one of them.
But this phantom pregnancy has been just waiting. No, that's not the word, is it? What would you call the pregnancy? Inevitable. Schrodinger's pregnancy. Yes, who's the daddy storyline to be has been there in the background for a good month at least now. We're just waiting for it to come out, and what better time than when one of the potential daddies is missing. Yeah, AWOL. Because I think I use it properly this week. So
you don't say it though. You just say AWOL.
So
I don't know why I decided to spell it.
Yeah. So Sarah's gonna find out that she's pregnant, surely, and then the thing is, like, if she does, I wonder whether she'd even tell Adam, because he's immediately gonna want to have maybe a paternity test, isn't he? Or he's not gonna necessarily jump to the idea that it's his. Although I don't know how honest she's been about how many times that she slept together with Adam. So it could well be that the dates of Damon, sorry. It could well be that the dates of the pregnancy are, put a certain date, probably from the very first time even. And Adam's like, oh, well, you weren't with Damon there, were you? You only slept with him more recently. And she's like, oh, maybe. So I don't know.
No, I tell you, I think Adam's too suspicious and jealous to consider just assuming it's his child.
Would be quite foolhardy to make that massive leap to conclusion, considering that his wife has been spreading her legs for all and sundry for the past few months. So, yeah, she's going to need to try and contact him.
Well, it depends. It depends, doesn't it? Is she going to have this test? Because we said before that you can test. I don't know if Coronation Street's going to go down that route, but if she does find, there's so many what ifs. We don't even know if she's pregnant. Like, I don't even.
No, don't even know. It's one of these things. Just like we were convinced about the scaffolding.
But it's because they've sown the seeds that Coronation Street has left all the crumbs, and it seems very obvious, narratively speaking, that they were trying for a baby. She wanted one, he wanted one at different times, and then they didn't have one, and then. Anytime a woman sleeps with two men at once on Coronation Street, it's probable that she's gonna become heavy with child.
But I kind of hope that she doesn't, because that means that the story goes on for a bit longer. I hope that she doesn't. I hope that she isn't pregnant.
Oh. What do you mean, story doing what?
It's really, I've just got a real, back and forth relationship with both this story and the Daisy one. Like, there are some weeks, the Daisy story, I'm thinking is brilliant and gripping and the best thing since sliced bread. Another week, it's like, I don't need it to go this way. And that's exactly the same with this one. A couple of weeks ago, when we had those scenes with Harry discovering Sarah with Adam, that was a brilliant story. That was the best of the week. But
Sarah
now
with Damon.
Oh, so Damon, I'm getting them confused, just like Sarah.
I don't know if it annoys people when I say, but
no,
I think
it's probably
sometimes
useful for me.
It's important to make sure that
I'm
everyone
glad you're listening to what I'm saying, because I've got no idea
what we're talking about.
Then that was interesting, but it just honestly it flips back and forth like Sarah flips between men about whether this is. I could say what I want. She's not real. She's been like it for years anyway. We were watching some of the classic episodes on ITV3 today, weren't we? Where she was, she's just started sleeping with Todd Grimshaw, age 15 or something, and she's always enjoyed the company of men between the sheets, hasn't she?
Well, why not?
What's your general impressions of this story at the moment? Are you interested or bored, or are you flipping like I am?
I don't understand what's going on. Damon just run off. I don't know.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
Are you? I don't feel convinced.
I find
by your tone.
I'm kind of finding it a bit creepy and gross, if I'm honest.
In what way?
There's too much sex.
Too much shacking. Too much sex.
No, it's not that. It's just the way that everything's moving really fast. I think Adam is being expected to just be okay with the fact that his wife was sleeping with another man, and then at the beginning of the week he's like, oh, don't want to sleep with you, Sarah, because I still feel upset and unsettled by this. And then by the end of the week he's like, yeah, I'm triumphantly shagging you. It just felt really it just felt like he was treating Sarah's body like some kind of prize that he has, or like some kind of possession that he had claim over, and he was celebrating his win by sleeping with her, if you know what I mean.
She just didn't hear her complaining though.
No, but do you see what I mean? Like how possessive he's being over her, and it's like, do you love her as a person, or are you just mad that somebody slept with your wife? Because those are two different things. And I don't know whether he really loves her or cares about her, or if he's just obsessed with the idea that he doesn't want somebody else to steal his wife.
Once this is all over and done, I still don't know whether we will feel more invested in the relationship of Adam and Sarah, because I think a few weeks ago I was saying that they actually did have some nice character development scenes, and then back to this week I just wasn't feeling it.
I mean, they're obviously really like spending time with each other.
Yeah.
But like, do they know each other? Do they care about each other? Do they what is it that they like about each other?
Together?
Does Adam know what Sarah? I just don't feel like there's a personal connection, and that was kind of the point of the Damon and Sarah thing, because she felt like Damon actually cared about her.
Yeah.
And since Sarah slept with Damon and then it all came out, Adam's kind of had to grovel a little bit himself and kind of comes to terms with the fact that she was unhappy in their marriage. But what has he actually done? Like, begrudgingly came home early so that he could have a takeaway.
Yeah.
Nothing really. He's been too obsessed with taking Damon down, which I think, if Coronation Street is doing it on purpose, which I hope they are, is a really clever way of sort of demonstrating that Adam really hasn't learned anything from what happened between him and Sarah. He's still not really caring about her as a person, and now all he cares about is setting a score with Damon and winning,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
That was good. I asked you what you thought about it and you told me.
I told you.
Thanks. So let's go on to another nasty man, Aaron, who is now gone. He's left the street. We haven't seen him at all this week, but Amy's still having a hard time getting over the whole ordeal. But she starts off the week having a lovely long bath, which is just what you want in a hot June day. Although it's still looking fairly miserable over in Weatherfield, isn't it? Very puddly. Steve and Tracy are a little bit worried about her. She comes downstairs and Steve and Tracy says, look, you can come with us for work today if you like. And she's like, no, I do not like that actually. In fact, I'm meeting up with a mate from uni today. So she's trying to move on. She says she's trying to. But later she's found by Summer sitting on Martin's bench in Victoria Gardens, and Amy's like, look, I'm glad the Aaron stuff is over, but I tell you what, I just cannot get the thought of the whole thing out of my head. But what I'm going to do is refocus on university, and then it's all going to be fine. And then, just in time, she gets a phone call from the university wanting to have a rather serious sounding chat with her. And it turns out that after all this, she's got to repeat the whole year. How long has this story been going for her? How much university has she missed? It doesn't feel like it's been too long, does it?
Don't forget that they're not in lessons or whatever you call it, They're not being in education the whole time. You have lots of time off when you're a student.
Well, yeah, university is definitely finished by this point in the year.
So what I'm trying to say is, when you should be there, if you miss out, it's a more serious problem than if you were missing out on like school.
Yeah, I guess
because
so.
It's a larger percentage of the amount.
It just seems like quite a convenient way to set up Amy and Summer being at university together next year maybe, and I think that they even make that point later. And Asher as well. I can't remember what the latest with Asher is. I know that she wants to become a paramedic. Is she are all three of them going to go off to the same university together? Are we going to get a dorm room set for those three of them? Because
I'd like that.
I wouldn't not like that.
But I also don't know what kind of university do you go to be a paramedic and business, and what does Summer
Whatever
do?
someone wants to do, got no bloody idea. Anyway, so Amy's down in the dumps because she's been told that her university want her to repeat another year. So she's like, oh, what's the point? I'm just going to drop out. So Steve and Tracy asked Summer to come over to try and chivvy her up a little bit. And Summer says, well, it's great. Look, you've got to repeat the year. That's fine. Pressure's off. I'd be worried about all the extra money I'd have to be shelling out. Do you get a refund for the year if you're told that you have to repeat it because you were raped? I don't think so.
Well, she's
that's the universities are just gonna just cashing in, aren't they? Like,
sorry,
you're gonna have to give us another however many £1,000 it is to do a year again. They've got a bit of a racket going on there.
That's why the lecturer was like, yeah, take as much time off as you want, I don't mind.
Yeah.
More tuition fees for me, baby.
Exactly. So to try and take their minds off the whole thing, they agree for a bit of late night bistroing. And so they're there having their shots or whatever at the bar, and a guy comes up and he says, look, come and sit with my mate and my wife. And Summer's like, no, we're just having a girls' night out. And then Amy starts to loosen up a little bit and orders herself and Summer a sambuca. And then we get a scene later on where they are royally sozzled, having a bit of a dance on the dance floor. And I did like this because Amy, who is definitely a bit more of an outgoing friend than Summer, but she's still just like that, a little bit square, isn't she? But she kind of drags Summer up to the dance floor, and Summer's like, oh no, I don't really dance. And I could totally get that, Summer not being much of a not a fan of being on the dance floor, do you think?
I like the way they're both slightly nerdy.
They are a little bit, aren't they? And so is Asher, which
but
is why a little...
being a stereotype of it.
No, I think that it's just right.
They're probably like the most normal teens I've seen.
I think they are fairly realistic, actually, yeah.
Not that I know.
Anyway, they're there having a bit of a bop on the dance floor. And then we see this other guy from earlier who's trying to pull his wife up for a dance as well. And the wife's like, no. Amy, who is 3 sheets to the wind at this point, kind of misinterprets the woman's lack of desire to have a dance. And she's like, oh, you're drunk. She doesn't want to dance. She said no. And she starts having a massive go at this guy for trying to coerce his... wife up onto the dance floor, which according to Amy is tantamount to rape. And the couple are like, hang on a minute, what you talking about? So Amy gets a little bit embarrassed, heads out, chucks up in the bush, which was fairly realistically done. That was...
Did you think?
Yeah, I thought that was some proper good Hurl acting from Ellie Mulvaney there. I like that. And Summer's there, holding her hair, being a supportive friend, and then they go home, and Tracy and Steve are just glad they had a good time, really.
Yeah, it's not a good... It's not considered a successful night out unless you're yakking into a plant pot.
Yeah, I know. I wonder how many gallons they've been in that one plant pot over the years.
Also, I'm surprised that nobody's brought this up as like the inevitable outcome of them getting their late licensing. And all the people that were complaining about it, why aren't they like
very true.
twitching their curtains going, the very day they've got their late licence and you see Amy Barlow yakking into the yuckers.
Yakking into the yuckers. So anyway, Wednesday.
Degenerate.
So Amy's zoned out after all the drama from yesterday's episode, but she gets herself a new friend in Toya.
Yeah.
She was raped,
Yeah.
Toya tries to talk to Amy and nearly gets her head bitten off for daring to converse with her. And Toya says, look, actually, I was also the victim of something quite vile like this when I was 18. Like, storyline alert. I hadn't put these two together, but it just kind of makes sense, and it felt very normal and realistic for Toya to want to have this conversation with Amy, particularly with her counselling background.
We were talking about the fact that, you can throw a stone on Coronation Street and hit someone who's a victim of some kind of awful crime or another. And there are plenty of women on the street who have had, a rape or sexual assault. So I'm glad that they brought that up. Yeah,
and the point of the conversation was really to get Amy involved in the counselling, wasn't it? Because Toya talks about, when I talked to people after I was raped by Phil Simmons, and that really helped me, and it kind of maybe inspired me to want to go into counselling as well. And I thought, yeah, this makes sense. And Toya gives Amy a number to call, which was the Shoulder Volunteers, which I thought was Maybe a flippant name for it, for a counsellor, or maybe it was just friendly sounding. I don't know. It
sounded like Chat GPT came up with like 5, and that was the one they picked. It sounds like people that are offering to carry your coffin for you.
I was thinking just the same thing.
Or like take your shopping in.
If Archie was to pick up George was to pick up one of those cards, it's like, oh, that sounds good. Give him a ring. So Amy goes back home and tells Tracy about this helpline, but she's not going to phone them to get advice herself. No, she actually wants to be a counsellor of her own. And Tracy's not really sure that she's ready, and she doesn't think that some husband-murdering baby snatcher is really the best person for Amy to be getting advice out of. And
I like the way Tracy's not going to live
people in glass houses, exactly. Tracy.
Like, if you're the one that should be worried about people remembering, you murdered your boyfriend.
Exactly.
Never mind your husband. Which is worse.
So, Amy being a counsellor.
I can't see this going anywhere.
I can just kind of see her signing up for the counselling service and finding it a bit difficult and having some woozy flashbacks about her and Aaron.
I don't know how this works, and I'm sure that charities like this are screaming desperately for help from people, but I also would hope that there was some kind of screening process where they were like, have you ever gone through anything similar? And she's like, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, and they'd say, I think it's a bit too soon. Maybe you could make tea for people. If you want to help, there's lots of other jobs you can do. But being on the other end of a phone to a traumatised woman when you haven't even processed it yourself is not going to help anybody.
No.
Do you not think?
Definitely. But, who knows
what kind of
it'll kill time between now and October when she starts the university course again.
These shouldered volunteers, It's a bit of a dodgy setup, I think.
She's probably not even going to do it anyway. It's probably going to be like the Asher paramedic thing, where it's just some great sounding ambition that actually doesn't go anywhere.
One of the most famous suicide help hotline operators.
What?
Ted Bundy.
Oh, was he?
So I'm suspicious of anybody.
So anyway, I think that if it wasn't so soon, I can see that Amy possibly could make quite a good counsellor, because she is a very sensible girl, isn't she? And I think that she has empathy with people. She's reliable and sensible. And
she's sort of as emotive and soothing as, say, like someone like Toya is. I think she's very no nonsense and quite to the point and direct. I think she might be a bit.
Well, that's what some people need, isn't it?
Some people do.
Pull yourself together.
Have you tried pulling yourself up by your bootstraps?
I'm not going to moan too much about this. It wasn't the most. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the other stories, but I wasn't on the edge of my seat by it. But it did need some kind of post-Aaron activity.
Talking about whether there would be anything about the story now, and I wondered if it would just pick up at a much later point. But
I'd certainly be interested in Toya having a bigger role in it, but I don't think she will do.
Having a bigger role in anything.
Exactly. The fact that she was in the programme, and Spider managed to get like one scene this week as well, didn't he? Walking down the street with her. Barely remembered.
What is going on, people?
Right. Poor Paulie Paul, Gemma, ploughing straight on, because there ain't much to talk about with the Amy story either.
For Paul on Wednesday, Shona's upset in the cafe thinking about him, and she's talking to Bernie about it, and they were Paul and Billy are due back from Wales from their, I was going to say honeymoon, but no.
Well, it's just someone else's honeymoon.
Yeah, it's someone else's honeymoon. So Billy and Paul get back, and they've had so much fun in Anglesey. They've got so much post as well, and one of them is something about a PIP plan for Paul, and he's confused and a bit annoyed because he never even asked or signed up for this. So he finds out from Chesney that it was Bernie trying to be helpful, and he just feels humiliated about this. And she's also got a charity bucket that she's shaking about on the street, and he's mad about that too because he doesn't want to be a literal charity case. So back at home, Paul tells Bernie he doesn't need money raising for him like he's a donkey sanctuary, but the great question is...
Yeah, Weatherfield, north or south. Yeah.
Bernie offers to make him a sandwich, and he's like, no, I don't want a sandwich. I don't want you to help me. I don't need you to do stuff for me. He kicks the coffee table over, and Bernie awkwardly heads out, and then Paul can't even pick the stuff up, so Chesney has to help him. And Chesney tells him that Bernie's just doing this to make her feel like she's doing something because she's losing her son. And this is the other thing about it, is that people want to help you, but they don't know what to do.
I guess Paul at the moment is thinking, I'm still somewhat mobile. Please let me do things for myself while I can, because I don't know how long down the line I'm not going to be able to do any of this myself. And he's getting these fairly frequent reminders, like the bus scene today, that time is running out.
I've got a prediction for how the story's going to end.
Death.
No, I think that Paul...
Miracle recovery. Somewhere in between. Go on, what?
Paul is going to sacrifice his life, like jumping in front of a van, or he's going to die in an accident, trying to save someone else.
Oh, heroic death.
I think that's what's going to happen, because I can't think of another way out of this.
Yeah, that would certainly solve the problem of, is it going to last 3 years or not, wouldn't it?
I just can't see them... saying the word dragging it out is just...
So insensitive.
It's disrespectful to the situation. And I don't think they want... That's the other thing, I think, that they're acutely aware of handling this with dignity and representing people that are having to go through this in a positive way.
What's Bernie wanting to do with this money? Is it to give to some MND charity or the MND
it's
Association, or is it just for
adaptive.
Paul? Because if I was Paul, being, do-gooder as I am, I'd be saying, yeah, you want to collect money and say it's for me, you can, but I'm just going to give it to Gemma.
Oh, goodness.
Because it was a few months ago, he was desperate for cash.
He knows. He's looked at the website. Oh, yeah, he has, He knows what he's going to need, and he knows he doesn't have the money for it.
Well, you shouldn't be looking a gift horse in the mouth, then. That's the down payment on a stair lift there.
All right, Michael. So mean. So, Paul finds Bernie in the pub and he says, sorry about being a big old dick. And Billy says, you're a good man. I don't know why he said that. Friday, Paul invites Bernie round for tea for Billy's world-famous pasta bake. Why?
Gemma hates pasta bake. Maybe this would be the one to turn you on to them.
I just think it's just...
Pasta bake's
I bet
great.
he makes it with a can, with a jar.
Yeah, jar of Dolmio pasta bake is the best.
You don't invite someone round and feed them a pasta bake. Unless it's lasagna.
Some people do.
Don't invite me round. I can make... This is the thing.
Gemma likes to put on big dinner parties.
Yeah, but if you're inviting me round, you've got to be making something equal to or better than I could do myself. Otherwise, I stay at home and cook my own dinner, and we can sit in separate houses, and I enjoy myself.
That's quite
more.
A challenge.
It's not really. I'm not that good at cooking. I just don't go pasta bakes my signature dish.
Anyway, maybe he says maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's not a pasta bake, but a pastor bake. Because he's a vicar, isn't it? Anything you bake is a pasta bake if you're a vicar.
What do you think it is? Maybe he's made some of those wheat brownies.
Maybe
someone's got the recipe off Aaron before he left.
Bernie would love that. It'd take her right back to the 90s, wouldn't it? She'd have a proper rave up with some of his
I don't think you rave brownies. With brownies.
I don't know.
No,
I'm too squeaky clean.
90s rave weed brownie, Michael. Okay, right. So, Paul goes to get... Is he getting ingredients for this cursed pasta bake? He falls out of the bus. It wasn't me who pushed him, because I was like, don't make pasta bake.
And it must be like a proper real one, because there were some tomatoes bouncing down Roslyn Street, weren't there?
Don't even try. Just don't bother. Don't bother.
Pasta should be boiled and drained, Gemma says, and that's all.
No, look. No. Would you invite someone around and go, here's beans on toast that I've prepared for you? No. It's the same.
It's just his mum. You don't need to always impress somebody with your food. Your scintillating conversation should be enough.
No, I'm not trying to impress people. I'm literally have a base standard of like... But you know me, I'd rather just not eat anything at all. If it's something I don't like, I just won't bother eating.
Yeah.
I'm not that hungry. So anyway, Paul falls out of the bus and everyone thinks he's drunk.
Oh, even his mum. Even his real. Yeah, that lady who's complained at him for being drunk, that was actually Peter Ash's mum. She managed to get herself a cameo on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
Lucky thing.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that.
Everybody in the bus is like the judgment bus.
They're getting all the Corrie mums on, aren't they? It was only a couple of months ago that they had Anthony Cotton's mum being the housekeeper for Rufus. Who's next?
Who is next?
William Roach's mum. Get her on.
No. So yeah, everyone's judging him from the bus, and then but they drive off.
Yeah, the bus driver's like, you need to watch out for yourself, mate.
Bernie sees him on the floor, runs over.
I like how nobody else tried to help. They'd prefer to just judge rather than...
hang on. But this I think we've talked about this before as well, where some medical conditions do make it appear that you might be drunk, and there's a lot of judgment for people that aren't willing to help. But
some people,
it's difficult.
Some people don't want to be helped as well, and I think
Yeah.
Paul wouldn't have wanted to
You don't
go,
want
help
to
me.
patronise someone, but equally, if somebody is drunk, I don't think it would be a good idea for me if I was by myself as a woman. If a man was drunk and falling around, for me to decide to take it upon myself to help him up because he could attack me. You don't know why somebody's fallen over. It's not nice to leave somebody on the floor, but I can't see how.
Well, you can't keep to your regimented Weatherfield Wayfarer bus timetables if you're stopping. You've got to get up to the next stop, hasn't he? You've got to get up to the tram stop.
Tram stop, yeah. So yeah, I felt that obviously we weren't supposed to empathise with these bus people because they were all very cross with him, weren't they?
They were the people in the Good
judgmental.
Samaritan story who just walked on by.
That's horrible. So he doesn't want Bernie to help him either, and he feels really useless, and he eventually helps her, lets her help him home. And then he tells Bernie that he doesn't want to go see Dr. Gaddis. What's the point? And I didn't get this. I don't know whether he was right or wrong here, because is it just... Surely he doesn't need to go to the doctor whenever he falls over, or does he? I don't know. Because wasn't there something to do with if you hurt yourself, you just won't heal when you have MND? I don't remember. No, I can't remember either. Surely he knows whether it's... You can't tell though with him. Is he just saying, oh, don't make a fuss? Or does he actually know that there's no point going? Because
I think it's more that. He's like, this is inevitable that this is going to happen. What's Dr. Gaddis going to do?
Well,
Suddenly
that's what I thought.
Open a drawer and say, oh, I've got the cure for MND
didn't
here.
anybody
Sorry.
tell you?
Yeah.
I just gave you just 3 pills and you're fine.
Yeah.
No, it just felt a bit like he was right here, because I mean the symptoms of what he has is that this will happen, and it will happen with more frequency, and you can't go to the doctor every time. I mean, what's the doctor going to say? Anyway, I didn't know if he was right or not here, but Bernie's saying you mustn't give up, and he's saying I'm not. I'm just being realistic. And then she says I'm going to get my crystals out. And
I loved how they did this. He's
like, fine, whatever, because he knows he's not going to get out of this. And she's obviously been like desperate to
She's
crack
probably been
these out.
itching to it, hasn't she?
Yeah,
How long's it been? 3 weeks? Like, when's it appropriate?
The impression that I got was that this is a conversation that had happened a few times before now. And she's basically saying, you've got nothing to lose, let me get my crystals. So
you would have, if she is as, into them as we are led to believe she is, she probably would have thought to get them out straight away, because to her,
I'm sure that she did.
This actually does do something.
Well, so Billy comes home and finds Paul lying on the sofa just with crystals dotted all over him, like something out of Game of Thrones, or I assume his chakra points or something. And Bernie's like hovering over him with this beatific meditative smile, like going, oh, this connection is, there's a flow.
I liked how they didn't make it silly.
Yeah,
because,
she wasn't being woo-woo, No,
she wasn't. They could have...
She sincerely believes it.
Exactly. And I think that would have spoiled it a little bit if they'd made it silly. I mean, I don't believe in the healing power of crystals.
I didn't want them to make fun of her about it. And no. I don't see that this is going to help, but I prefer them to not make fun of this kind of stuff, because people sincerely believe it's true, and she's not hurting him. She's not saying to him, don't go to the doctor, I'm going to cure you with crystals. That's the issue. That's what killed Sinead, alternative medicine, and not actually going to the doctor. So Billy's like, you should have gone to a proper medical professional. And he says the crystal's a load of rubbish. And Bernie's like, I did ask him to go to the doctor, but he didn't want to, so I'm doing this instead. And Paul just gets fed up.
Bernie also says, what was I supposed to do? To say a couple of prayers?
Yeah.
So that was where the religion versus crystals kind of thing
came
that. From.
I wonder if that's going to develop.
Billy was probably was thinking, oh yeah, I haven't actually thought to pray. I've just been
Should have just done that.
I've just
shouldn't
been standing there worrying. That's still, literally.
I knew there was something I was supposed to be doing.
It would mean so much, I think, and help Billy as a character and remind us that his job isn't just dishing out soup to homeless people. If we saw a scene of him having an earnest pray. And why wouldn't they do this?
I know.
They'd have Emily Bishop doing it.
All right.
Wouldn't they? Why not have the vicar just do a proper prayer?
If they're going to be respectful towards crystal healing, then they could do the same for religion.
It's like they're too scared. Too scared to show that the vicar might actually pray in a time of crisis.
Christianity is, a much more widely held belief than crystals. It would be. It's, how the thing is, the writers on the show, they love doing their vows, they love doing their soliloquies and their two-handers and the BAFTA speeches. Why not write a really beautiful prayer?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I totally. They really, really
and
should.
And that Dan Brocklebank could perform it.
I think he absolutely could. It just feels like he's only a vicar so that there's somebody to marry people or do Christmas services.
No, I think he's only
do
a
the
vicar
soup.
so that it's explained why he's not at work.
Yeah, maybe. Or so that they can say, hey, look at us, we've got a gay vicar, isn't that
ironic?
Yeah, and it's like,
That's
no. Don't they have a gay vicar on one of the other soaps as well?
That's the only reason they've got it. It's not because they sincerely, I've never felt like Coronation Street really has a lot of respect towards religious Christianity. Not because they're definitely a lot more respectful, I think, to Islam and
I think so.
And
they
Dev's Hindu belief, even though that
they have done in the past. Even Sophie, when she converted to Christianity, I thought that it was a little bit more respectful then, and it felt like I believe that Sophie does believe this, and obviously if you go back far enough into Coronation Street, half the street was or more was a practicing Christian. Mm-hmm. But it does feel like that they don't really want to go there because.
There's definitely. I'm going to say I'm not accusing Coronation Street of this specifically, but there's definitely a group of people who believe that because they are from a Christian country, they can disrespect Christian values and beliefs, but they would never do the same thing for a different religion.
No, exactly.
And I think that's a bit acting like it's your religion when it's not. Yeah. And so therefore you're allowed to criticise it. I just feel like it just feels unnecessarily cruel to people who sincerely believe. And
I can see the way this story going that maybe we'll have Billy has another crisis of faith or
that's the thing. Yeah, the shooting up in the church was kind of the low point of Coronation Street.
It's like his faith is a barrier, is an obstacle for his character, when actually it should be a massive source of support and succor to him.
You can definitely argue that he would have to struggle with his religion, and I'm also going to say that I totally acknowledge the fact that there are plenty of people who have been damaged,
of course, by
Christianity and religion, and I can understand people being angry and wanting to point out and criticise.
It just kind of summed it up for me today when Paul's like, I'm not interested in in crystals or religion, and Billy was just like, and what does Billy care?
This is
that
the same
his
thing
boyfriend
that
is telling him that he doesn't care about it at all.
This is the same thing that happened with him and Billy.
Him and Todd.
Sorry, Billy and Todd. That always bothered me. Because it felt a bit like Billy, whenever somebody says that, like Paul or Todd saying this is a load of crap, felt a bit like Billy's like, fair point.
Yeah, you're right, it does. It really, really does. Like, I would have thought that it should be more important to Billy.
It's a fundamental part.
Or is it not, is it not inclusive enough that he wouldn't want to try and persuade?
It's a fundamental part of the way that Billy understands and reacts to the world, that he believes that God is real and that there is an afterlife. Why would you... I understand if it was a story about overcoming somebody's differences in faith, because we've seen, there are loads of throughout history and even in modern times there are plenty of people who are different religions who've managed to make relationships, but it's not without tension or
Billy's just kind of happy to say, oh well, at least he's good in bed.
Like, yeah.
I think that Sean was more accepting. I don't know whether Sean was Christian or not, but I can kind of feel, thinking back to the beginnings of their relationship, it wasn't an issue. And Todd is, definitely not a Christian, and he probably thinks that it's a bit
Todd
weird.
Was really antagonistic.
Paul kind of does as well. And I just think for an archdeacon, it should be a bigger deal.
Maybe they're going to explore this, and that's why they brought this up. Because if I was Billy, I'd be really upset with the fact that I can't use something that's incredibly helpful to me to help my boyfriend who's dying.
Yeah.
If Paul believed, and we're not going to get into whether any of this is real or not, but if Paul believed that he was going to heaven, it would make it easier. Of course it would make it easier. If you genuinely believe that when you die you're not really dead and you're going to, have everlasting happiness, that's a very comforting thought. That's why people like religion.
Yeah.
And Billy has now been told by Paul, not only does he not believe it, but he's not going to tolerate Billy doing any of that around him. And that
should cause
how
tension.
Much comfort could they both have drawn from together praying or together, reading passages in the Bible about this kind of thing? Because that's what it's for. It's a support system. And it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, because Billy does.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well I would cope with watching someone die and also being told, don't refer to your religion. But I totally see what Paul's saying too, because he doesn't believe it. So to him, it's the same thing. Crystal's religion, it's all the same. None of it's going to help him. He's going to die anyway, and there's going to be nothing after that.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's going to react like that. It's just really difficult. I hope that they actually do something with this, because
I hope so too. Especially
here.
Like we said, they did the crystals thing pretty respectfully, I think, this evening. So I think that Christianity should be given the same courtesy.
And the way that Bernie was so happy to do that,
feel that like she's doing something
for Paul, it really made me really sad, and I hope that she got something out of it. I don't know. It's really sad, and I think that watching them try to, and isn't it interesting, as well, the Coronation Street. Whenever someone struggles with something awful, they either become a gambling addict, or they become an alcoholic, or they try to kill themselves or something, or they actually succeed. Whereas you've got these two characters who are actually doing something that I would say is a fairly positive kind of reaction to find comfort in some kind of higher power, whether that's, Crystal or God or something. That's much more positive than watching somebody drowning themselves in whiskey.
Yeah, well,
I don't
tell
know
you what,
how
if
often...
this story goes down the Billy calls up his brother and gets another.
But you know what I mean? I'm just saying, I don't know how often we've ever seen this really happen in recent times, to see a character become spiritual or to talk about something that's a more positive way of coping.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, I don't know whether this is the most recent one, but it's putting me in mind of Zoe Tattersall turning to the Etheric Foundation after her daughter Shannon died. Exactly.
Well, it reminds me of how Robert, when he found out he had testicular cancer, got really into exercise very briefly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's good memory. That's
Thank you.
But anyway, this is a massive tangent, but it's given us more of a talking point than anything from the Sarah or the Ryan storyline has done.
Maybe Sarah should become a nun.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's our only hope. Right, so the Sexy Bexy storyline. Finally a little bit of lightheartedness, although there was the underlying Islamophobia mixed in there as well. But
there wasn't.
No, as in the
spectre of it.
The spectre of it, exactly. But as I say, I love this just because I think that this actress who plays Beck is fantastic. So anyway, showed us talking to Bernie at the beginning of Wednesday's episode, saying, "Oh, Max, he's really seemed to have turned a corner since meeting this Beck. She's lovely, she's great, this girlfriend." And Max says, "She's not my girlfriend. We're just hanging out." But he wants a little bit more. And no, he has been snogging her, hasn't he? We saw him last week snogging her face off at the precinct.
I like the way that there's a lot of Max's story is a combination of dealing with the aftermath of having done something truly dreadful, but also just your typical teenage boy, like, I don't want you, like, I know you're not really my mum, but shut up, mum, I don't want you to talk about me I don't have a girlfriend, she's not my girlfriend.
Well, there's also the fact that it is a little bit forbidden fruit, isn't it? Because she is kind of his best mate in prison's Gav's girlfriend, even though she swears not.
Still don't really know what's going on with that.
Shona, stop saying that she's my girlfriend. I don't want Gav to be here to hear. So Max finds Beck looking at the adverts in the cabin later, which it's not an important part of the scene, but I can't remember what they were talking about now, but I enjoyed it at the time. And she says, "Oh, I got a surprise for you later." And then they're walking down the street, arm in arm together, and Alia comes round the corner talking about the Spectre, and she's like, what's going on there? Hang on a minute, she's black. How can that?
What's happening?
Beck's surprise for Max is that, what do you know, she's booked a table for him at Speed Dial. Wow, how original thought. She's going to fit perfectly into Coronation Street. A mega surprise, dinner at Speed Dial.
Can I just say, this sweet child thought that he would be impressed with a restaurant that's literally up the road. Like, can you imagine?
I know.
It's like somebody meeting up with their friend who's like works at Corrie going, "I found this great coffee shop round the corner. Costa, have you ever been here before? I've got a stamp card.
Found this great coffee shop. It's the Coronation Street Tour coffee shop."
Have you heard of it?
It's got a lovely hot chocolate.
I've got us a table.
Well, even Max's reaction is fairly kind of understated. It's just like, amazing. Oh,
wow.
Just amazing. Obviously, he is... he's
allowed?
kind of not allowed to go there, so he's been blindsided a little bit and doesn't know how to react, but it is just the sort of thing that the way that anyone should react on Coronation Street if they're taken out for a special tea there, because they eat there all the time. So he kind of bins it off, pretending that he's sick, and he tells Beck that he'll call her later. And so when he goes home, he makes up some kind of lie to, I think, David or something, about what he's been up to, or maybe it was shown. I must admit, I wasn't fully paying attention on this scene, because he was there playing on his phone, and they were using the sound effect that they used to use, gonna say 10 years ago, the generic video game music, and it was from a Kirby game. And he was playing it on his phone now. So they dragged that one out of the archive.
Nintendo have gone into Kirby games online.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, according to this. So yeah, it was fun. Over the years, and obviously I'm going to be the sort of person that notices this, I'm going to say that they've had like maybe 3 generic video game sound effects that just always get pulled out whenever anybody's got a controller or a Game Boy in their hand something. And this was one of them that we've not heard for a long time.
The same thing happens with pets.
Yeah, it is.
I was going nuts listening to Freddie today.
Doing his whining.
Like, oh, here's Freddie and Roy.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, is someone down a well or something?
But anyway, I just thought it was funny. It was a bit of a blast from the past there, hearing that.
Oh,
Shona's smelling a rat about Max's stories about what he's been up to with Beck today. And Max admits what happened with the speed dial thing. And he's just, he's a bit torn because he doesn't want to lie to Beck. But equally, if he tells her the truth about why he was, sent down, she's going to run a mile. And Shona says, look, you got to rip this plaster off and tell her before it's too late. Wednesday, it becomes too late.
Whoops.
So Max just tells Shona at the beginning of the episode that he's decided to fess up to Beck what he was in for. So he goes to the precinct to see her. And she's got this lovely day out planned for him where they go and play basketball together.
What was the name of the one that...
The Weatherfield Giants.
The Weatherfield Giants.
Weatherfield Giants was, what was her name? Miley's favourite team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Giants with the tiny balls. So they go and play some basketball together, and she wipes the floor with him, or the court, I guess. And they're just like walking back, having a bit of a flirty chat, and he's just about to confess his crimes to her when she interrupts him, suspecting that he's actually going to be giving her a bit of soppy talk. And so as she walks off to get them something to eat, Yasmin and Alia clock her. And it seems like Max and Beck can't walk down that street at the moment without one of the Nazir ladies just popping up, kind of
glaring,
going. Argh. So Alia stops Beck and tells her, Alistair Beck, sorry. I know you're a new character, so welcome to the street and everything. And also part of the welcome pack is I need to let you know I'm a victim. Just need to... Everyone knows I'm a victim. What am I? Victim.
You know how she's got that necklace?
Yeah.
With her initial on it?
Yeah.
It's not actually an A, it's a V.
So she makes sure Beck knows she's a victim.
We don't hear this conversation.
No, because we've heard it many times before.
Well, I would have kind of liked to have seen this, but it was completely superfluous.
No, I thought she did. We did get to hear her say, "I'm a victim."
Yeah, I know.
But the actual details of it.
I feel like every time she opens her mouth, I hear her say that.
Anyway, so cuts then to Beck going back to the Platt's house and say, "I've just heard that you're a terrorist." What's going on with that then? And
That's
Max is like, honestly, I was just about to tell you, but she's not having any of it. She accuses him of only dating her to prove to the world that he's not racist anymore. And he's like, no, I really like you, honest, you're great. And he chases her down the street and she says, no way can I see you anymore. And very handily, David and Alia are watching on with this conversation. Alia's there out the window, isn't she? Looking a little bit...
She looks kind of regretful,
Who looks
but also...
out the window? I said to Mrs. Bates last week about something.
I don't know. A dog.
She's looking out the window like a sad dog. And also a little bit guilty and regretful about...
I think she's like, I'm sorry this had to happen.
Well, yeah, she says this to Dee Dee, doesn't she? Because Dee Dee comes in and Alia says, sometimes if you want to do a bit of right, you got to do a bit of wrong. So she realises that splitting up this... love's young dream wasn't the nicest thing to do, but it was a kindness.
But the thing is, though, was she trying to protect Beck or was she trying to get revenge?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that she would say that she was trying to protect Beck and say, just to warn you, but I think that there probably was a little bit of...
On the show,
that, Max.
I don't think that Alia's understood that Max's racism was targeted at her because she's a Muslim, but in real life she would be very aware of the fact that he was at her because of that specific reason, and she probably would realise that he has different opinions about different people. It's not just like a blanket racist, I think sometimes that surprises people, but it really shouldn't, that some people have different opinions about different groups of people. They're not just all in one great big...
And I absolutely believe Max when he says, I do actually fancy you. He's not doing it just to try and prove to the world, is he? He said, I didn't even notice you were black or whatever. I didn't believe that at all.
You've got to be a bit stupid to not realise that you were in there for racism and then you're dating a black girl.
And I know that he is trying to prove to everybody that he's changed, but I honestly think this isn't part of that.
But of course she's going to feel that way.
Yeah, of course.
And she says, you didn't write down what she says, but she did a really good, Beck does a really good speech about, you're every person that's ever made me feel lesser than or not as good as everybody else because of the colour of my skin, and I thought that you were different. It must be awful to realise and suspect too that, you've been used.
So anyway, that's it for Max and Beck. At the end of the episode, towards the end of the episode, David tells Max, look, if you're really into this girl, you need to fight for her. So I assume we are going to see more of Beck, and that's not the end of it, the end of her.
Also,
she seems nice enough that she probably could be convinced, though. Do you think?
Yeah, but again, the idea that the people that are victimised are responsible for helping
of course.
rehabilitate monsters is frustrating.
I think that Max is coming out as genuinely sorry for what he did. She seems like a forgiving type.
I don't feel like he really... I've not seen properly him coming to terms with it or talking about why he was wrong.
But I think that conversation could happen on Monday. Totally understandable that she's going to fly off the handle as soon as she finds this out. But I think that she's going to calm down, he's going to go around our house, like Daisy visiting Ryan. Maybe even get to see inside the precinct flat. Unlikely. And
but I tell you,
get to hear a bit more about his story, and then I would hope that she would understand.
But I hope he doesn't try to blame Griff for everything and say he was groomed, because as much as I can empathise with that, and I believe that's true, the fact of the matter is that he is accused of doing the same thing to somebody else, that boy that stabbed Alia.
Yeah.
You know, he groomed him with his videos. So are we going to only put the blame on the groomer, because he is the groomie and the groomer in this situation? He's got no leg to stand on.
I still feel sorry for him.
I feel sorry for him, but he hasn't acknowledged what he's done wrong and why it's wrong.
I think he might, though. I think this is a redemption arc.
If we don't get that out of him, but is Beck the right person for him to offload this to? She's not a victim of him. It was Alia and people.
Alia's too
Muslims.
up herself to listen.
Yeah,
we saw last.
She's just mean.
We saw last week. Max tried to apologise.
No, she's got no reason to forgive him. I don't think it's on her at all.
Mean to Alia.
It's not her job to forgive him. But Beck's not got the same back. Like I keep saying, it's a completely different set of circumstances. Beck's not been victimised by what Max did. Max wasn't trying to blow up black people. He was saying that Muslims are an invading force that were trying to change the culture of Britain.
Yeah,
it's completely different.
Anyway, at the end of the episode, he gets a phone call from Gav or Gaz. I guess Gav, isn't it? Yeah. Which he ignores. So
see, this is what I'm thinking. Like, how is Gav gonna fit into this? It has Beck phoned Gav up and told him, why the hell did you get this guy to come and talk to me when you knew he was a racist? And Gav's gonna be like, what the hell do you mean? He never told me that. Maybe he's gonna come out. We don't know when he's due out of prison, but maybe he'll come out and beat him up.
Yeah, maybe.
He kind of deserves it a little bit.
Well, I hope so. I miss Gav. I thought he was great as well.
Well, you want him to come out and beat up Max?
Well, no,
that's what I said though.
Yeah, I know I did, but I just love any scene of those because I think that they are fresh and interesting to watch.
It would be really nice to have Beck and Gav be proper characters.
I'm really.
But they feel like guest characters.
They do, but I really think that both of them, to me, keep them Corrie. But I don't know. And the fact that she lives at the precinct means that she's. I know that it's maybe a temporary house that she can move away from, but
with somebody.
Yeah, maybe. I'm still very intrigued about the nature of the relationship between Beck and Gav because I don't think we ever really got a straight answer about why he's. We know that it's
romantic.
Yeah, but why is he obsessed with her? Why is she saying I don't want anything to do with him?
But what I'm saying is they can't retcon it and be like, he's my brother, or
oh god,
you know what I mean? They've already been quite specific about him calling her his girlfriend and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't stop him though. Wouldn't stop him from trying to retcon it.
I think again, in the prison, Gav seemed a nice enough guy, and I think even if he does come out and give Max a damn good leathering, I think he would also. I'd like to think that he would understand and forgive him and see. I
don't think you need to always forgive everybody.
No, I know, but he whatever he was in prison for, he's done his time. He's served his sentence to society. People aren't judging him anymore, so maybe he'd think.
How do you know?
Well, I don't know.
You don't even know what he did.
I'm just thinking about what I'd like to happen to try and keep those two in the show. Right, onto the Stephen story then, Gemma. We just got that Monday, didn't we? So much less Stephen this week, but
I know,
still a bit.
So on Monday, Jenny's a bit funny with Stephen when he's in the pub.
You had all that time when I was talking that you could have yawned.
So, Jenny's a bit funny with Stephen. He comes into the pub with Elaine and she's making a pointed comment about Stephen obviously loving her. And then when she goes, Elaine and Stephen talk about Tim and how he's just in a mood with them both and refusing to talk to Elaine.
Yeah, because he doesn't want them to get married.
Later on, Jenny's looking at her phone like, Owen's sending me all these gifts. And
she
keeps
says
saying
gifts, doesn't
yes.
she? Which
they sound very similar when I say them. Gifts.
I
I
just
thought
enjoy
that
that.
was sweet,
I
and
enjoy
she's
that
like,
just
"Oh,
because we
it's a
know
little
about Sally
cat."
Ann Matthews as
She'd like a gif or two, yeah.
Well, yeah, I remember we were one of the people that were teaching Sally Ann Matthews how to post gifs on Twitter like 5-6 years ago.
Wow. And
So
look at her now.
she's so much more technologically advanced than Jenny.
So Stephen's on the phone to the life insurance people, and he set up this fake business account called Seagull Limited, and he is using it to pay the life insurance for Elaine. And then Carla comes in and says that he's gone through all the accounts and he wants to because he's buying this business. So Owen comes into the pub and he's telling Jenny that he wants to take her away for a surprise weekend trip.
Oh yeah, that was a few nice scenes with Jenny trying to figure out where they're going.
Listen, this is a note to Daniel and Adam. This is how you look after your lady.
This is how you woo a woman.
This is what you do to treat your lady right.
Is this also a note to me?
It might be.
If I were to whisk you away on a mysterious romantic weekend, where would be a good...
Funny you should ask that,
good
because I was
place?
just looking it up today.
Where you?
Yeah, I was like, I would like to go to Sissinghurst.
Sissinghurst?
Yes, and
What's
it's
that?
20 minutes away from my number one most wanted destination of 2023.
Oh, which is?
Pluckley, the most haunted village in the whole of England.
So romantic.
I would love to go. I want to go there because I keep seeing these. Okay, the stupid reason why I'm going to go to Sissinghurst is because we've got a flower in our garden which is named after it, so I'm intrigued. and then I looked up. I was looking up how much does a bench cost, and there was a bench called the Sissinghurst bench. I was like, this is just
fate.
The universe is trying to tell me.
And
then I looked at on the map. I was like, how far is it? Because I can see where it is in the country. It's quite near to where Pluckley is. How far is it? 20-minute drive. It's like they want me to go.
Oh, we've booked
I
a
wanna go to
holiday.
the Screaming
We've booked
Woods.
a holiday, haven't we? Should
I
we
want to
tell
go to
people?
the Screaming Woods. There's no Screaming Woods in France.
We're going to France next month. When are we going? It's about a month, isn't it?
Yes. It's about a month.
About a month away, we're going to France, so we might have a bit of a podcast gap for a little bit. I hope that's okay.
Our wonderful northern France, which I think I love it.
Yeah, we haven't been on holiday abroad for ages. You know we haven't because we've been releasing podcasts every week. No, we haven't. No, we haven't together. She's
all over
ditched
the
me
place
to go away abroad somewhere. But we will catch up. We're not going to not talk about any episodes.
We're going to stay in a bakery.
Erratic schedule in about a month's time. Watch out for that.
But it's not got. It's not. It's
yeah,
not.
We're staying in a converted bakery that's next to a chocolate factory now. So I think I'm
we'll
quite
be rolling
enjoy that.
back.
Yeah.
Okay. So
anyway,
right. So Owen's like, hey baby, we're going on a surprise weekend trip to Pluckley. It's got loads of ghosts apparently. I've got a whole walk in the book. So Owen's then talking to Stephen, going, who's these seagull people? And Stephen's manages to spin a yarn about that it's a consultancy company that they used once or twice, and he says we won't be using them again. And Owen's like, good. Well, if they do, then I'm going to need to know more about what it is they actually do, which I thought was good.
yes.
But again, Owen's just like, oh Stephen, I need a shovel to dig my own grave. Could you help me?
That was all, wasn't it, for that this week? I did appreciate the notion. Well, I was appreciate / confused by the notion that weekends are a thing in Weatherfield. Yeah. Like I don't know when they fit them in. Quite frankly, but
how do they have time?
You go and have a lovely one, Jenny and Owen. Is it this weekend that they're supposed to be going? I hope
tomorrow.
we get to find out what it is. Right.
Maybe they went to Anglesey.
Maybe. They did.
Isabella Harridan.
Yeah, speaking of exotic locales, back to Naples. I literally cannot
Is
remember.
It Naples?
Yeah, she's from Naples, isn't she? No, body. I've got no idea what happened in this storyline. We've got a fairly decent chunk of notes here. So I'm just going to be remembering as I read this because it's completely gone out of my head. So Brian tells Roy that Isabella is, oh yeah, I remember now, hopefully going home tomorrow because these renovations on a apartment or wherever it is that she's living are finally finished. But what happens? It turns out that she can't. Ugh. I'm just skipping ahead here because I remember that's happened. Brian's in the florist trying to buy her some flowers, which she later rejects. And she gets a phone call saying that she has to wait for another 2 weeks apparently.
She gets a phone call. She's like, "Oh, mamma mia, pasta bake. Oh, Don mio."
Maybe that's what she heard. Maybe she heard that somebody was making
like,
a pasta bake out of a jar. And she's like, I need to stay here. I still have a work to do.
It's a me, Isabella.
Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, Mary goes to see Roy in the cafe and she says, right, Isabella's staying for another 2 weeks. I can't be doing with this. I need your help to get rid of her. And Roy says, I can't get involved in subterfuge. Brian's just got to stand up to her. Later on still, and Isabella tells Brian, oh, we're actually in 3-week filming block, so it's going to be 3 weeks until I have to leave. But hey, at least it means I can spend more time with you. So he draws up this plan to send her off on a tour of, what do they call it, the Northern Riviera, basically going to all the northern seaside towns, like Blackpool and Lytham St Anne's and all that, and she thinks that's a cracking idea.
With Pat Phelan's windmill.
Oh yeah, lighthouse. Yeah, she thinks that's a cracking idea, but kind of accidentally. Well, she mistakenly believes that Brian is offering to go with her, but actually he wants to get rid of her.
Why did he not see that coming? If somebody says to me, "Oh, I'm your host in this country. You should go look at this place," I'd be like, when are we going?
So anyway, that was all that was. That was the scene that had the great shots of was it Tim, Steve, and Jenny at the bar just turning around and reacting.
Love that. That was so funny. And we also discovered, we hadn't made this clear before, but Toya's now working.
Oh yeah, she's got a job. She's earning her living for the first time.
Lady of Leisure.
How long's it been since Toya's had a job? 8, 9, 10 months maybe? And now she's just helping out a bit at the bistro.
Do you think Leanne's just been watching it, like coming home from work every night, and then Toya's just sprawled on the sofa watching David Attenborough going, I made a vegetable lasagna for everybody, and then Leanne's like, no, you're gonna work at the bistro because you're just a freeloader.
I know. Well, she's clearly living off all this undercover copper money that Spider's bringing home each month.
What?
Maybe he's a money spider.
Are they both living? Where are they living?
I don't know. I think they're all living with. Spider wouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know where Spider's living.
I like
at
the way
moment,
that
but I don't think they're in Coronation Street are interested in telling us.
Yeah, Spider threw it all away almost. He jeopardised his career to tell Toya something he shouldn't have told her because he loved her so much, and they've had a deep connection, and they were in the show, years ago together. They were, and then she followed him to London. That they've got a massive backstory.
Well, that happened on ITV3 this week, didn't it? Toya has finished her first stint on Coronation Street on ITV3 now. That
Juice
horrible
bar.
John.
Juice bar,
that's it. Yeah.
Anyway, but even with all that history and with this deep connection they supposedly both have, he's not moved in with her or let her move in with him.
They were walking down the street, Toya and Spider, at one point this week. I think it was on Wednesday's episode, and Toya was saying, "Oh yeah, we talk to each other, we communicate. That's what relationships are about." And it kind of got me worried about the fact that is she drifting apart from him or something? Every time there's a couple that get together, we're like, "Oh, I don't want them to split up. They're perfect for each other." Sorry, Imran.
They could just.
I know, but I don't. I just. We're getting close. We're getting very, very worryingly close to Spider's 1-year anniversary on the show. He came in. I think it was my birthday last year, wasn't it? It was the 2nd of July that Spider came into Coronation Street.
Yeah, so explain the significance.
Of what? It's just his contract.
Exactly.
I don't want Martin Hancock's contract to run out, and he's only here for a year, and then he gets heave-ho, and I've just got horrible suspicion.
I really suspect that
he's not going to be around for much longer, which is such a shame. Like, why hang on to it? Because his storyline ended months ago, and he's not really done anything of note since then. But I'd be really, really gutted. For me, because I love Spider being back in the show, I love him and Toya being together, and I'd be really sad for Toya that she's been ditched by a man again.
Well, she didn't get ditched the last time. She killed him.
I don't know whether Coronation Street, I could trust them to have Spider leave in a way that doesn't completely poo all over him as a character. Are they going to turn him into somebody that's?
Well, I think they made a bit of a weird decision with his backstory.
Well, yeah, maybe they did a little bit.
Right, okay.
But I don't want him to break Toya's heart on purpose. Maybe if it's an acrimonial...
Wasn't there a rumour that he had a daughter? Do you remember?
No, I don't know whether that was just an idea that we made up for ourselves. We wondered whether that Elsie was actually his kid, didn't we?
We thought that because we heard something.
I don't remember.
But obviously it wasn't anything from anybody involved in the show because it would have turned out to be true.
Anyway, I have got no evidence or insider knowledge or anything about Spider. It's just my massive paranoia that he could be leaving in the next month or so. I actually do have a suspicion about one thing.
Yeah, me too. We'll talk about it later. Okay. So we're doing spoilers. So Roy's story on Monday.
Roy and the dog.
I'm doing this.
Roy and the Rover. That's what we should call this one, shouldn't we?
Obvious. Am I doing this one?
Yeah, whatever.
So on Monday, Roy's back to work and Bernie's fussing about him overexerting himself because he has had
He's got to stand up the Jackson.
I hope not. On Friday, Roy is pleased that see Evelyn in the cafe with Freddie and he feels like it's about time now that he took Freddie back because he's recovered. And she's like really reluctant. She won't admit that she doesn't want him, like that she wants to keep Freddie. So she's kind of being all like, oh, I don't mind. You know, it was a massive chore for me to look after him, etc., etc. Trying to make out she's put out, but actually you can tell that she really loves Freddie and she doesn't want him to leave. So he collects the dog from number 9, and even the dog doesn't want to go. And
you can tell that by the choice of sound effects that they use.
So Evelyn enjoys watching Roy failing to get him to do anything. And eventually he has to pick him up and walk off with him. And Tyrone finds out that Freddie's gone later on and says that she's going to miss him, and so the girls. But Evelyn's like, no, I don't care, I'm not even bothered. So
you should have made a comment like, you know what, since we've had that Freddie in the house, that Ruby, she's been a different person. In walks recast Ruby Dobbs.
So Roy ends up at the cafe. He's taken the dog for a walk. And
then Evelyn comes following in after.
Yeah, Freddie's left this toy at her house, so she gives it back. And Roy tells Evelyn that Freddie was just like not really happy on the walk, and Evelyn's like, "Oh, you should have gone clockwise and done this way and the other thing." And comes back. Yeah,
she's clearly formed this deep, meaningful connection with the dog, and they understand each other.
Yeah, on a level that Roy could never hope to understand. And so she comes back later. She's mapped out these walking routes with like pictures of ducks and stuff, and she's not impressed at all because Roy's going to go out to a book reading with Yasmin that evening, and I think that Evelyn was hoping that she could connect with Roy on a deeper level because of Freddie, but
once more she's thwarted by Yasmin like she was a few weeks ago when she turned up at the hospital.
They're going to some book reading about the destruction of the cotton mills or something, and nobody else wants to go to this. So she has to babysit Freddie, and she agrees, but she's kind of like snapping, about it. Roy comes back to number 9 later on after the book reading and says, "Look, I've got a proposal for you. How about we share ownership of the dog?" And she's like, "I'll sleep on it." And she kind of acts dismissive and sort of puts Freddie on his lap and.
I can't see how dog sharing can work.
I think human beings do things sometimes that make animals unhappy without realising, and I don't think the dog would like this.
How on earth would that be
the
successful?
Dog would just always
it's not like
be
a school
thinking,
hamster over the summer holidays. Like you have him a week, then I'll have him the next week. You can't do that with a dog.
I don't think the dog would like it. I think the dog would just always feel like it was missing half its pack.
I mean, the way that this kind of seemed to be obviously going was that Evelyn will end up getting the dog and it's just a Cerberus replacement. That's why I was maybe not that excited by this story, despite me liking the characters, because it seemed like it had an inevitable conclusion, but I'm usually wrong about these things, I don't know.
I think the combination of Cerberus and Evelyn was kind of visually iconic.
Yes.
And I don't think that I feel the same way about Evelyn and Freddie, but I do like them together. I just think that there was something visually interesting about
there was, because Evelyn was tall and yeah, exactly, and bony.
Well, this is what they say about dogs and their owners.
Yeah, and I think that they looked just right together, whereas Freddie so far is a fairly nondescript, fluffy mutt. And
I don't think he's a fluffy mutt, but yeah, I know what you mean.
What do you mean? Of course he is.
Okay.
He's got hair. He's more than Cerberus anyway. So yeah. I don't think that Evelyn's really got anything to worry about Yasmin, because even though Stu wasn't into going to seeing this book reading. I do think that Yasmin and Stu, for the time being, are for keeps, and I would have thought that Evelyn would have also thought that, because...
Well, it's not as much of a fundamental difference, that she likes going to book talks and he doesn't, as Billy and Paul, I believe in the existence of an afterlife, and
Exactly.
I think it's a load of crap, even though it's your job.
Exactly. But I don't, and I see absolutely, I don't see a whole lot of romantic chemistry between Roy and Evelyn, although perhaps there's potential, but I see a whole lot less between Roy and Yasmin. I don't think there's any possibility of chemistry there. I certainly hope not. Anyway, but I suppose if you're Evelyn and you fancy someone, you maybe see signs of romance with somebody that you fancy, where they do not exist, and start something to get jealous about, etc., etc., etc. I'm rambling. So that is it for this week's.
We've got a
Street
proposal
Talk.
for Coronation Street.
We did have to.
We
mention
want
this, didn't
you
we?
guys to repaint the murals on the medical centre, please. If you
The
want,
jungle scenes are looking a bit old now.
they've been on
they?
there for how long?
20 years.
Get rid of
at
them
least.
and put notable figures, maybe podcasters that are really cool.
They should open up the Gemma and Michael wing at Weatherfield General.
Yeah, they should do. Paint them something different. Have Coronation Street, the actual entity that not this show, commission some kind of new upcoming artists, Manchester-based or Salford-based artists, to do a new mural. Make it part of a regeneration story that Maria's getting involved in. Make the paint ecologically friendly. Get Billy to come and do it, and with a bunch of, I don't know, ex-scoundrels.
Sounds good to me.
Get Gavin
Beck, Max
to do it as part of their rehabilitation.
Yeah, exactly. Right, scores and characters of the week. I enjoyed the discussion, as I always do with you, but that is not what we're rating. It is the week itself, and week is the right word, because
bitch. Well, look,
there was very little where I was that invested in what was going on, really, to be fair, this week. It just wasn't doing it for me.
Mine is a 3, because I gave it all bog standard, and I think 3 is
I thought you had a banging. I thought you gave Wednesday a banging.
I don't remember what. You can't take me of what I say. Just
Well,
because I say something doesn't mean I mean it.
I was thinking 3 as well. I wouldn't.
Really, I would have thought you would give it 2.5.
Maybe I will go 2.5.
I'm going to give it...
I'm going to go 2.5.
Go on then.
Then what are you scoring?
3 husband murdering baby snatchers. My favourite sort.
Easy. I'm going to give it 2.5 birds that a cat's caught but not quite killed out of 5. And which half of the bird that is for my half mark. It's up to your imagination. But there's certainly going to be a lot of blood there.
But who's the character of the week for you, Michael?
I haven't actually considered so far. I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards Beck in a week where I'm not particularly enthralled by any of the main storylines. I mean, could be Ryan, because I did enjoy him tearing a peg off, tearing a strip off
not the
Daisy.
Sharpest tool in the shed.
I did enjoy that, but yeah, I think that Beck stood out to me as just like a breath of fresh air. And Ryan's had plenty of opportunities. I'm not going to give it to, Damon or Nick or Sourpuss Leanne or anything for those main stories.
I'm not going to give it to... I'm just going to say, I'm not going to give it to Dee, but I want to give her a shout out, because I was watching her today and I was thinking, I really want her to get her own story.
Yeah.
I think she's proven herself now. She's won, she's won the Best Newcomer award at the Soap Awards. Let's give her an actual story, because I was thinking she's really good as a supporting role in lots of these. She's a really good kind of foil for Adam's temper tantrums, and she's great with Paul, and give her own story.
Right, I'm going to give it to Beck. She is my TV burp star tomorrow today. And so there we go. That's
I'm going to give this
pick of the week.
to Jenny.
Really?
Yeah, because I just enjoyed
Nice.
her expressions. I thought she was really lively and fun. I liked the way that she supports Daisy.
I like the way that she gave her a kind of a mummish telling off,
Yeah.
but then said, "Right, you've been through a really tough time.
I just think
let's have a glass of bubbly together and forget all our troubles."
I thought she was a thread that wove through many stories this week, and I appreciate the kind of, perhaps we're seeing a renaissance of the Rover's landlady. You know,
I was thinking that a little bit this week.
She's had her fingers in all the pies. I love watching her expressions. She had some really great funny moments this week.
It still needs a Rovers story though, about being the Rovers and not just characters in the Rovers are having
Events.
their own stories happen to them. But no, I was actually thinking that she was doing more of the traditional pub landlady stuff
Just loving
this
it.
week.
So she's my character of the week.
Nice, okay.